Cinphomaniac is full of spoilers. If the movie's there in the title, we're probably gonna say everything that happens in it. So don't fucking listen if you don't want to know.
Some of us, new worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered. The peace between realities erupted into all-out war, each variant fighting to preserve their universe and annihilate the others. This is almost the end, ladies and gentlemen, of everything and everyone.
And then the timekeepers came along and saved us all.
No. No.
To me, the great hope is just people who normally wouldn't make movies are going to be making them. And, suddenly one day some little fat girl in Ohio is going to be the new Mozart, and make a beautiful film with her little father's camera. To me, the great hope is girl in Ohio is going to be the new Mozart. To me, the great hope is people who normally wouldn't make movies are going to be making them. To me, the great hope is Ohio is going to be the new Mozart. To me, the great hope is people who normally wouldn't make movies are going to be making. To me, the great hope is one day some little fat girl in Ohio is going to just be Mozart. Normally wouldn't make movies in Ohio is making the new Mozart. Just people who normally wouldn't make the Mozart and be making. To me, the great hope girl in Ohio is going to make a Mozart, beautiful film with her little father's camera recorder, and for once the so-called professionalism about moving Mozart destroyed forever, and it'll really become an art form. That's my opinion.
Now I can. It took like a minute.
It wouldn't let me hear you. Hi.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Not bad. Sorry I took an extra, almost 30 minutes. I didn't mean to. I just, I realized I had writing the amount of notes I was trying to write down. I was just even though I was typing so fast, it was so much more volume than I ever thought because, we'll get into it. There's just
for Loki.
Not really even directly to Loki though. What happened on Loki last night definitely has increased my interest in doing what I was doing.
I want to let you know I did big girl up and I stayed up and I watched it. So I am up
You're kidding.
to date. I'm up to date with Loki.
Oh my God. Oh, that was the best surprise you could ever have given me because
it was kind of slow. So I got to go home. I got to go home 45 minutes early and I was like, this is perfect. It's exactly the time
that lifts such a burden on me because it was going to be really hard to
not do spoilers. I know. So I was like, well, this worked out. It was just enough time that I was like, okay, it's only 2:15 in the morning. It's not 3:15 in the morning. I could totally watch it.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I did. Oh my God, I love that show.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
Wow,
yes.
wow.
Okay, no, I'm so glad also because not even just with the pure spoilers of it, I just think I would just come across as a little too crazy for my enthusiasm if you hadn't actually seen it. You'd be like, "What the fuck is I don't get it."
So you need to call, bring it down.
You'll
but
see.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on it. I get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, and here's the other thing. I also wanted more even broadly, and this is what we're going to be primarily talking about is I wanted you to have the experience. I think that the crazy kids at Marvel Studios want everyone to be having right now, which is you literally just saw Black Widow and now you see this.
Yes.
So it's kind of they're just trying to get you 2 for 1. And there's a very interesting thing and this is what my notes are about. Cause I to be honest, I didn't even finish cause I just realized I could be writing about this for a long time and I might as well just try to talk through it with you.
Sure.
But basically what I was trying to get at is it's now very clear to me. It was kind of clear a little bit before, but it's now very clear to me, what the sort of two, and I say two because I actually think it's going to branch off into even more. What the two sort of main storylines are going to be going forward that connect all these things.
Okay.
Yeah. it's interesting because they seem totally different in terms of scale and totally different in terms of like who's involved. But I'm already like looking over this. That's what I was doing. I was just like studying like a maniac the slate of all the upcoming stuff, and I was like trying to think like, okay, but what if this bridges this over to this, or these things
there's a number of ways. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. And believe me, I had to do this a lot, but I'm like Charlie and It's Always Sunny with the Pepe Silva thing. I got my red strings and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. There's more to this than meets the eye. And I actually think even what I just said about the two scales, I think there's a degree of truth in that. And we've already seen it, but I actually think it's a little bit deceptive because we're going to kind of see this one quote smaller scale thing become a lot bigger over the course of this. And I think where they're going to meet, which I still haven't quite figured out yet, is going to make a bunch of things that haven't even been announced yet, but I think might start getting announced now that we've gotten some of these other things out of the way.
Okay.
Are going to be like, whoa, like, psh. Okay. But there's still a lot of questions, and I think one of the things that and I don't want to touch on why just yet, but like I think one of the things that was most exciting to me about the Loki thing is that it shows that despite like some of the earlier experiences with WandaVision and to a lesser extent Falcon and Winter Soldier, it shows that like Marvel and the fans are not necessarily like thinking about these things in totally different ways. Like the fans do know what to pay attention to. Like, cause like, I think after WandaVision was feeling, are we just a bunch of crazies? And actually, as I'll circle back to, I think a lot of things that people said about WandaVision actually aren't untrue. They just haven't happened yet, but they are still going to happen. Yeah,
wait. Do you have any example? Because I feel like
I'll tell you that. Okay,
totally
I'll jump to the number one example, but like we'll have to circle back because like there'll be so much more context when we get to this later. But
right.
I think a lot of what people were saying about the connections between what was going on in WandaVision with Sword and Monica Rambeau and the potential Fantastic Four, and like because everyone was like, Reed Richards going to show up. Well, obviously he didn't show up, but like I actually do think that is what they're building towards. I actually think Sword is going to be involved in a couple things going forward, including eventually leading to the actual Fantastic Four movie. So I actually don't think that people were wrong to draw those connections at all. They just got a little too excited about like, oh, a scientist is coming in. And they're like, oh, it must be Reed Richards.
It must be.
Yeah. So yeah, we will get to all of that, but I think it's best to kind of keep things chronological. Otherwise, trust me, because I'm already losing my mind trying to connect things.
I have to say, my one hope will be if Reed Richards does show up, they say nothing. He just like stretches into the background, and when no one notices, like sneaks in, and he's just there.
You know what? But you know what, dude? Don't be surprised when like, and this is the other thing we're gonna have to talk about that I didn't even start to write notes on, but I'm like, yo, this is gonna be the big test for Marvel going forward with some of the things they're planning. Because I think now we have to seriously question with literally every single movie or every single like, even just before a movie comes out, like, oh, this person's gonna be in this movie. We have to question, yeah, but is it the them we know? Or is it like a variant? Or actually, because we'll get to this, Secret Invasion is coming. Is it a scroll? Like there's going to be so many things where we're not going to be able to trust our eyes from here on out.
Sure. Or the story at all, because, or at least, or we're not going to be able to trust what we think we know about any characters.
Right. Which brings to your point. I wouldn't be surprised if we are seeing characters we don't think we're seeing, and people are going to go back, but like, wait, they were there the whole time. It was just
they were there the whole time.
They just shape-shifting like, body,
or like they were a woman. Like they didn't look like themselves.
Right. Exactly. So I think we're gonna, and I'll give it credit because things now increasingly in hindsight seem much more multi-purpose and purpose therefore than before, like that the whole twist in WandaVision with Agatha all along and all that. I'm kind of like we got to be thinking in that mindset like for everything, like and I think Loki is another version of it where it's like there's always like someone higher level that's like behind the thing. I guess that's kind of just comic books 101, but like it wasn't really a thing in the movies other than because basically like in the movies it was like there's Thanos and they kind of like they were very kind of they're still kind of figuring out how to see that through. And so really, and I think it worked out ultimately in the right way. It wasn't until Infinity War that we really got to understand who Thanos was at all.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I think they're clearly, after what we saw in Loki last night, I think they're clearly going for a different approach this time. Where I think they want to start weaving their villains throughout these different projects and get so you get to know them a lot better before they really bring the house down. And also, they're not afraid to bring some houses down along the way now, clearly. So yeah, but like before we get to all that, we got to just kind of start with Black Widow, which, as we'll talk about, was supposed to be how this whole phase started before all the delays. So yeah, you texted me saying how much you loved it. So
I texted you while I was still sitting in the theater.
Oh, okay.
Like
Cool.
like I think I was waiting for the after credits. I texted you. I signed up. Okay. I signed up for that AMC Stubs, the A-list pass.
Oh yeah. I
don't know why everyone doesn't do that. It's stupid.
I know.
You get 3 movies. You get 3 free movies a week. Every week, you can see the same movie 3 times in one day, and then come back next week and do the same thing. And then if your friends have the AMC A-list stubs, you just hook up and make sure you guys get the seats next to each other. Because you're not paying for them. You're just saying, I'm going to use my free movie today for this or whatever. And it's like $20 a month. So I'm like, okay, if I see 2 movies a month, it's already more than paid for itself. And
which AMC
excited.
did you go to?
I went to the Century City.
Okay, yeah, that's
Century City.
So
there's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Some of the other ones you can tell they took over at older theaters and they're like a little rundown or whatever.
Yeah,
but not that one.
I like the one on Sunset, which used to be a different, like a Sunshine Cinema or something. I like that one. That's the closest to me. So if like I was to do it, but like that's the thing. It's like the reason I don't get it, and they know this is the reason they want me to get it, is because that basically locks me into like that's the default theater I got to go see everything in, and I don't know if I like that. It's a good theater.
I thought I could go to any theater.
Well, you can go to any AMC theater. I don't know. I'm not reading your fine print, but
AMC, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess what I mean is if I'm gonna go to any AMC, I'm really not gonna go to any AMC. I'm gonna go to the closest
one next to you, right. Of course.
So that's what I'm saying is like, I think it just like kind of locks me in more to doing that, and it sucks because like for instance, I saw Black Widow at the Chinese IMAX.
Nice.
And oh yeah, no, and it was my first time back there in like
probably
since Mission Impossible Fallout or something, like 3 years. Like I was very, 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 very pleased with that presentation. It was excellent. It's and also that's the other thing I'm trying to, at least for right now, I think maybe as movie season gets really back in the swing, it's like it would be a good financial investment at the very least to get one of these passes. But actually right now I'm really enjoying like shopping around the various movie theaters that are still up and running and kind of checking in on how they're doing, you know? It's a very interesting experience for me, both as someone who really cares about the movie industry and cares about this and cares about his movie theater experience, but also someone who used to work in the movie theater industry. So like I understand like kind of like just by looking at it, probably what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. And it's just interesting to see. And so like when I see signs of health, I'm like, good. When I see signs of like, and it's interesting because I went to the first screening available in LA, like the Thursday, 5:00. There was a lot of people in there, and the Chinese is massive. Like it seats a ton of people. So of course it's not going to be full, or I mean, believe me, it would have been full 2 years ago, but like, you know what I'm saying? or for egg.
Well, maybe they didn't. Did they not let it be full? Was it allowed to be full, or did they? Does AMC still have?
Probably not. Probably not allowed to be full.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not allowed to be full. But I don't think it was at whatever capacity they would have limited it to either. I think it was like There's a lot of people in there. It's hard to tell how much because it is so big. But it wasn't. I no way felt like we were. But then again, and this is the most people I've been in a space with in over 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy how many. We're talking hundreds of people. So it's like, I shouldn't even fault it. I never thought I'd see that many people in a theater or anywhere again. So
that's awesome.
It's all about perspective here.
Exactly.
But yeah, the presentation was great. I mean, I actually was a little worried because I was sitting relatively close, because with IMAXs, I like to sit close. Like, for some reason, people want to sit in the back. I'm like, you're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
But then again, I was like, maybe they have it right, because during the trailers, and I know from movie theater experience that like trailers tend to actually be like very poorly sound mixed for the theater and very overly loud, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to overpower people talking and coming in to
get your attention. Yeah,
exactly. Get your attention. But in the context of a giant IMAX like that, with the amount of bass that those speakers generate, I was actually getting like hit with force. It was like seriously like scary. I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm gonna like damage my body if I sit through 3 hours of this. But I was pretty confident that once the movie actually began,
you're like, oh, I didn't realize I requested a seat in the woofer.
Yeah, that's literally what I thought. I was like, I'm literally sitting in the subwoofer, like right on top of it, like. So yeah, no, like I thought for a half second maybe I might have to change my seat, but I also, like, again, from experience knew, like, no, when the film actually comes on, it'll be much more coherently mixed, and like it'll still be heavy bass, but that's what you want at an IMAX screening.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're right. No. So that was kind of my just experience in terms of like the actual viewing. I'm glad you viewed it in a theater. I'm glad you did. I was like, oh, did she actually pay the $30 for Disney Plus? Which actually, based on the numbers that were reported, I think yesterday, a lot of people did actually. Even though a lot of people saw the box office too. So it's like I think Disney is like incredibly pleased that they basically won on both fronts while neither hurting either, seemingly.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the fence. I was like, you know what? I kind of am ready to go be in a crowd, but part of me is like not. And so I kind of did, the 50-50 of it, where I went to a theater, but I went at 10 in the morning on a Sunday. So it's like it was still half full, and I felt good about that. But at the same time, I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should do Disney Plus, because I have Disney Plus. Maybe I'll just go on that. But then it's like you still only get to see it once. If you're going to pay the $30, I kind of wanted the experience. So
yeah. Well, you know what I think is crazy too is, so I know this from listening to other like podcasts and reading other reviews, but like they sent out to press like a digital screener. So almost everyone who reviewed the film watched it at home, which I think is, a little bit maybe. I don't know. I think some people did a good job accounting for that experience, or appropriately maybe saying they like that experience or not. But like, I definitely don't like that for a movie like this. Like, I'm shocked that they didn't insist that.
Well,
the press
action movies in general, I think it's better if you're there, if you feel it, if you like we were saying, if you feel the subwoofer in your chest.
Well, I just think, especially given the fact that most people's experience with the Marvel stuff for the last like couple months has been exclusively on the screen through the Disney Plus shows. So you would think the first thing they would want to do, I'm not talking with the consumers with the premium access stuff, I'm just talking with reviewers. You think the first thing they'd want to do is help you differentiate those experiences, but oh well. But yeah, so talk to me about like the actual movie, like what you thought of it and stuff. And obviously you said you really liked it, but I want to get more insight in that.
I thought it was fantastic. We got such a deep dive into Natasha and who she is, what makes her tick. And I was pleasantly surprised by the twists and turns. I thought Stranger Things dad was fantastic.
David Harbour,
probably my favorite. David Harbour in this film. That he gets to do, the last time I saw him was in Stranger Things, and he's got
ironically
some
getting
relief,
stranded in Russia.
But
the connections there are super
weird. And that's
weird.
where Black Widow begins. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, really. Even timeline wise, it actually makes sense. I'm so like, I think there's, I mean,
super weird. But I think, the last time I saw him was Stranger Things, which obviously does have a little bit of comedic relief, but it's not necessarily from him. And in this, it's pretty much all from him. I want to say all the funny, it's either Pia or her or him doing all of the funny, all of the little bits. I felt like it was just the two of them. Is her name Pia?
No,
Puth.
You're thinking of Florence Pugh, but
Florence
her character's Yelena, so maybe that's
probably where I got it from. Yes, so
there's
Florence
Yelena,
Pugh, and
then there's Melina, which is Rachel Weisz's character.
Yes, I think I already know you're a big fan of Florence from Midsommar.
I'm a big fan of Florence. I'm
a fan of hers also. I think in this specifically, she's made herself into a star in the sense that kids are now going to see her as this funny superhero. Kids that maybe didn't see her in other things like Midsommar because they're not old enough. I think this is going to really, she's already been, on the up and up, but this is really going to solidify things for her. I think she did a fantastic performance. But like I said, I think the comedic relief was pleasantly surprising, but the thing I liked most about this was how heartwarming it was. I'm not kidding. I cried a little bit, and then later I ugly cried, like full on ugly face crying, trying not to get the old people in front of me to turn around and see if I'm okay because it's embarrassing.
Okay. Can you tell me which moments made you cry? I want to know.
The family moments for sure. The moments where the moments where Florence she's a younger sister. She's a sister, and the family means so much to her. Those moments where she says that it's not, I think the first time I cried is when they're sitting at the family table. And she's telling her mom and her dad, you're telling me that the best time of my life, the happiest moments of my life were fake.
Yeah.
The happiest moments I've ever known were fake to all of you. That means that they were fake to all of us. That really
to me.
It was real to her. Yeah. Later on,
her accent's hilarious, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. It's in and out, but I think it makes sense for Spy.
No, well, I think it's cool. I've heard people say it's really good. I've heard other people say it's terrible. I honestly I feel like anytime someone does an accent in a big movie, you're gonna hear both sides of it. Like it's almost never universal one way.
You're never gonna, unless
I don't give a shit. I'm not Russian. I don't speak Russian. I'm not a judge for that. All I know is that it was a very amusing and ditto Harbour's accent as well. You didn't really hear Rachel Weisz speak too much, so it didn't really matter. I mean, she's a very accomplished actor and did a good job. I think.
I definitely heard her accent in and out for sure. But I think they did a great job. Like I said, I'm not Russian, and I have two friends that are Russian, and one of them said it was fine, and one of them said it was awful.
See, there you go. Proof.
Yeah. But the one that said it was awful, she's been here for like 10 years. So maybe I'm just like, maybe you just don't remember.
Interesting.
You've been Americanized now, who knows? I think that they did a solid job with that as well. But I think the action sequences were unparalleled. I love how there are moments that typically male superheroes get that she got this time. She broke her own nose back into place. That's something that male superheroes, I feel like that's kind of a trope that happens often with them, where I got to break myself back into place so I can keep fighting. But in this instance, she did it herself.
Yeah, the actual gesture of her snapping the nose back, like after she did that, I did have a moment of thinking yeah, that's something we've seen other people do before, but I don't know if
I've seen a woman do it. I don't think I've ever seen a woman do that on film. I can't place another time.
I don't think anyone's ever done that in the MCU specifically, though, too. So she in some way she gets to be the first to do certain things like that.
No one else ever done that?
I don't know. I can't remember a situation.
I also can't remember a specific situation, but I know that trope is kind of played, and it's dope. And if you've ever had your nose broken,
No.
You know how awful it is.
Oof, no.
I used to kickbox. I got kicked in the face when I was younger. And then I did not want to kickbox
Which
anymore.
again, I'll bring up again. And I know you have your reasons. You told me your reasons why you don't think your agents put you up for it. But I swear to God, I don't care. You should have been in this movie.
I agree. I would have loved to be in this movie. No, the reason I think they didn't put me up for it is because I don't think it even comes to their desk. Top 10 agents, if it's less than 3, they don't want it. If it's less than 3 lines, it's not enough money for them. So it doesn't come to their desk. If I was with my old agent, they would have 100% been like, you want to be a featured extra? Do you want to have 1 line? And I would have been like, for Marvel, sure. But APA is more like, we didn't even see it because it's not enough. It's not important for us. It's not important enough.
No, so look, that's totally reasonable.
That's the good and bad of being with a bigger agency is that you get put up for more important stuff, but it's a lot less.
But see, okay.
It's a lot less stuff.
This is why I say, like, as much as like that reasoning makes perfect sense, I still want to insist on this. And if anyone from fucking Marvel Studios is listening, let me just tell you, you screwed up. Here's why, okay? Because for all the things I was just even preempting earlier about like the sort of playing the eagle eye games to the fans, it's like if they had called you up and said specifically, we want you, like they call your agents up, I mean, like we want you, Dana, to be in this film because explicitly it'll help us establish a link with the Widows going back to even Iron Man 3, which that scene is a flashback.
Because I'm in one scene of Iron Man 3.
Right, but it would have made perfect sense. Like that's what I'm saying. It was a missed opportunity. It would have made so much sense, and it would have been really cool. And tons of people on fucking Reddit would be posting about it right now. So,
missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity for me to be like Mr. Reddit Lord and be like, yo, I know this person, you idiots. I can tell you the scoop. Yeah.
I know the scoop.
I got the scoop. Anyway, yeah. Well, listen, so I want to really draw attention to on this, because this was, to me, the best part of the movie. And it's not to say I didn't enjoy the movie that followed. I did. I have some issues with it we'll talk about, but for the most part, I really enjoyed the experience. The best part of the movie was, to me, the first 15, 20-ish minutes. And
a little girl?
That
great.
did a lot for me. Now, I knew
I feel like
that
was even before the intro credits. It was like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, no.
Natasha's backstory.
It was a solid 15 to 20-ish minute chunk. I think maybe it was only 9 minutes, but it felt as long.
It felt like a third. Yeah.
But yeah, like I want to say, like I'd paid attention to the trailers and stuff. I knew we were getting scenes of the child versions of Natasha and Yelena. And they would they have David Harbour daddy. I knew we were getting that stuff. What I didn't know, even though it should have been obvious, and maybe the thought had crossed my mind, but it just was like seeing it as a totally different thing. Mm-hmm. Like how basically the first few minutes of this movie are like a big budget movie version of the FX TV show The Americans. And this is a comparison a lot of people have made, but I'm just saying it because I watched in the theater and that was the first thing I thought.
So I didn't really watch The Americans, and that's why I didn't think that. I remember of it because I do like Kerry Russell. I just never got into it.
The Americans is a fantastic show.
Because I didn't actually watch the show, it didn't pop in my mind. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I had seen it, if I would have made the same immediate
since
connection.
You haven't seen it, let me just I'm sure you know the basic premise, but let me
I know
just,
the basic premise.
Picture.
Yeah.
I'll paint the basic picture of like what's so Americans about it, because it's not just the similarities in the premise. It's like some other specific little more nuanced flourishes that are going on. Okay, so for starters, that scene is set in 1995. It's always amazing to me, like just how now when I see it in movies, even if you don't tell me it's 1995, I feel like I can immediately tell that you're trying to make this a mid-90s thing. Not because of pop culture references or things like that, which this didn't have any of really, other than I think there's one part where she had some cartoons on. I forget what was playing exactly. I think maybe like some Nickelodeon show or something. But like but like just the style of dress, certain like things, like certain like.
Oh, for sure, the t-shirts, the blue hair, the shorts, the cut-off shorts. I'm pretty sure my cousin wore exactly that thing in the 90s.
No. So like there's tiny little signifiers. I won't try to detail them all, but they so I was just like, oh yeah, this is very period. Now the Americans takes place in the early to mid 80s, but like it's pretty impressive because you just like, I mean the time difference is not that much, and you kind of just you see that you just get in that period mood. The other thing is the way David Harbour's character looks and the way Rachel Weisz's Melina looks. It's almost like they're going verbatim for like some of the looks from Matthew Rhys and Kerry Russell in The Americans. With the like David Harbour's got the glasses on, the middle colored like coat, like it's very interesting. It feels very. The other thing, the more important stuff, and why I said this really just felt like The Americans, but with bigger budget, because you had them trying to drive the plane, especially the end of The Americans, which I don't think it's really that much of a spoiler to say the end of The Americans involves this sort of exit of spies,
Sure.
I won't say more than that. But the thing about it, the emphasis on the children, the idea of the family unit, that's what The Americans is actually about. The Americans is actually about what having these spies form families that are being raised in America is actually like. What a strange experience that must be for those children and for those parents starting to recognize that those children are recognizing that their reality is abnormal, right?
Yeah, so like in Black Widow, where she says, "I couldn't wait to open the Christmas presents, even though I knew they were just empty boxes."
Exactly, and all that stuff about the fake photos was also
Yeah, they just had a photo shoot where they did all their holidays.
Yep, that's straight out of The Americans as well.
Is it?
Well, yes, but one key difference between The Americans and what they set up here, but not a difference in terms of the main characters, the Jennings family, but not in terms of difference in terms of things that the show directly suggests or implies, because the show shows that there are many other spy families in America during the 80s and even earlier, and some of them are like situations like this where it's like the children are in on it right from the gate. They themselves are expats that have been smuggled into the country. Though the premise of The Americans is also like the amazing innovation of having your spies have the kids actually for real born in America makes it much easier to like, because they're legit anchor babies essentially.
Yeah.
But so that's a difference. The Jennings' children are American born and believe, at least at first, that they are Americans, not children of Soviet spies. But that distinction ultimately I don't think is as important as just what in general the whole thing pretends, which is that duplicity. And even another parallel to The Americans is you have the two siblings. The Jennings have two kids, and the older one, being older, has had more time to be perceptive of their situation. The younger one is oblivious, right?
Typically.
So that's another thing. And the way that weighs on her and the relationship she has with her parental figures. But just even beyond The Americans comparisons, I just really appreciated the mood and atmosphere, which again matched The Americans very much, because the tone of The Americans is very like dire and psychologically
they're at war.
Pressuring. Yeah. It's very heavy. Not like heavy in this like melodramatic way, heavy in this just like very cerebral and like disturbing in its reality way. And that's what these scenes had. And it made me think like, am I really watching a Marvel movie right now? Because this feels a lot more just like intense and grounded and psychologically dense than anything we've seen. And the fact that it's evoking The Americans beyond the superficial is proof of that. And then, right, you have to get through that whole prologue chase. They land in Cuba. Then you have because I consider the opening to include this as well. Then you have the opening credit sequence, which was very interesting because one, Marvel doesn't do opening credit sequences. Like Guardians had one, but even then it wasn't like a credit sequence. It was like, oh, there's a scene and the credits are playing.
He's dancing and the credits just happen to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. This was like an actual credit sequence, like a David Fincher credit sequence would be like, not to say it was as good as that or anything. And just pointing out that it's like this
that
produced
style.
Thing. Mm-hmm. It's set to this cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit,
which was great. I love it.
I normally hate that. See, I normally hate covers like this, but
they did a couple of covers in this, and I feel like I can't remember if I'm correct on this, but I feel like the covers in this film were largely sung by women, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, they were.
They were all sung by. I kept noticing, like, oh, this is a female vocalist. Oh, this is a female vocalist. Oh, this is a female. Oh, they just took all of these dope '90s songs and had women cover them, or they found women that already cover them. And I was like, you know what? I'm noticing that, and I freaking appreciate it. That's dope.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually I kind of feel the same way as you. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want this cover. I don't know if I want this song as a cover. I'm just
tired. I feel like we talked about this. Oh no, maybe I talked about it in a totally different conversation that wasn't with you or on this show. But like, I've talked about this places, which is like my issue with like this, especially in movie trailers. It's like a kind of a theme. It's this thing where they want to. They want to like pop culture signify or like make those associations to get you kind of hooked in, like, oh, look, it's this song, but because they're also trying to sell a very moody or whatever thing. And now it's even beyond the needs of the movie. Just moodiness itself is considered something to sell. They do a cover that's like some moody, more like piano or like whatever slowed down version of the song, So it's like trying to do two things with the dramatic flourish for when the trailer goes on. So this was doing that. And a trailer and a credit sequence like this are not too dissimilar. So on the surface, I should have an objection to it. And to take a Nirvana song like that, it's like, I should feel every bit uncomfortable about it. That being said, what this sequence actually was focused on and what it was showing and what the themes of it were, again, it took what I was already feeling from just the actual sequence that preceded it and took it in almost a new direction, but really was doubling down on what I meant about that heaviness, that psychological realism, which was they're talking about something that I care a lot about and I've written about, which is human trafficking. And they were really evoking this sense of like child sex slavery and child soldiers. And so now and obviously this is happening during the 90s. Now when you add in that weird but female vocal led cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, it feels appropriate. Yeah, it does. It just does. It just kind of works.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
And look, so you mentioned crying, you mentioned these things. The moment where the film got me, and I don't know if it ever got me like this after that. I mean, some of those scenes you're talking about with them around the table certainly did a lot for me, but not on this level. They got me with this. I was like, I don't think I actually cried or anything like that, but like I was like felt like I could. I felt very close to that watching the fucking credit sequence. And like I said, there's a couple things. There's like I just feel very personally connected and have a lot of emotion towards the sort of like realities of human trafficking. So if you show me that, you're gonna do a lot. But just the film had appropriately built up to it with this American style opening, this thing like that just kind of really had me. It was like, and I part of why I felt teary, it wasn't even the thing itself. It was the meta realization of like, holy crap, is Marvel actually going to give me a movie like this? And in a weird way, I knew in the back of my head already, no way. No, they're not. This is just a thing for now. And it's going to quickly move on into the usual Marvel rhythms of humor and action and light fare. I know that. And I even knew that then, but I was like, but fuck it if they don't have me right now with what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So they had me right there. And I think really the rest of the movie was them slowly losing me in some ways, which isn't to just paint a negative picture. It's just the reality of the situation. But okay. So you get through that initial part. And what do I mean about the rest of the film? Well, you already kind of touched on it a little bit when you were talking about Florence Pugh, who, as you mentioned, I'm a big fan of. And I'm realizing now that like the rest of the internet, whatever, feels the same way. I feel like all the takes I'm giving are have been given elsewhere this week. But like, fuck you. Like I these are my actual thoughts. So screw you. I don't care. It's like, whatever. Sometimes many minds think alike. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think she nailed it on multiple ways. I think she was the perfect casting for the physicality of this role. She's not some twig. Like, I believe if she and I were in a ring, it would be a good match. She could probably throw a real,
Did you see that wrestling movie she did?
No, she did a wrestling movie?
Yes. She did a movie where she played Paige. You know what Paige is? I don't know if you're familiar with wrestling.
I don't know Paige.
So she's a big WWE. With, like, wrestling. Yeah, okay. She's a big WWE like female wrestler, and this was like her actual like authorized biographical film. And
cool.
Florence Pugh played her. I forget what it's called. It has one of these titles where you're like, that sounds like a wrestling movie title. No, it doesn't actually. It has the opposite title. It's called, I now remember it, Fighting with Family. Because there's this whole thing where like her siblings and her parents are like all super into wrestling, and that's like why she got into it.
That's
so
kind
it's
of
like,
fun.
the girl becomes a superstar.
But I believe that she could be a good fighter, and that's, I think, good casting, because a lot of times movies like this, I'm like, you're so pretty, but I don't care if you punch me. I would not notice if you punched me.
Okay, so yeah, totally. But you know what? Here's the thing, though. I agree. She did a great job at the action. But I just want to focus on this because when I brought her up, really not, I think most of the focus was her, but like I'd apply this to David Harbour as well in a big way. And even to a small extent, Rachel Weisz, just for being Rachel Weisz and being this heavyweight actor, but also clearly having a lot of fun. This is a movie, and we're going to get more into just like the whole scope of how we got to this movie, but like, this is supposed to be Black Widow. This is supposed to be Natasha Romanoff's movie, her final movie. And I'm sorry, with all due respect to the beautiful and lovely Scarlett Johansson, who I think is a credible actress. And I really do value Natasha as a character. And I think it sucks that she's been done dirty, but I also think her ending in Endgame was truly moving, even if it was not the biggest event of that movie. I think that's a silly thing to people to harp on. All due respect to all of that, but dude, she got majorly outshined in her own movie by all the other characters, all the other family.
I'm going to agree with you partially. I think she did get outshined by Florence and by, I can't remember his name.
David Harbour. Alexei, Red Guardian, whatever.
Yeah. Now I'm like, well, now we need a Red Guardian movie, obviously. But,
that's one of the things we're going to talk about is what other movies we're going to get.
My favorite moments of the film do not necessarily involve Black Widow. I would agree with you on that. But the moments that I keep gravitating towards that I go back to are it's David and Florence that are in my mind. And that's sad because it is her movie. It is her movie.
Look, other than the confrontation with Ray Winstone, which has its other problems, almost every single scene, she is like the least interesting thing in that scene. Or the least important thing to see. You almost take her out of her own scenes. Like you said, like everything from all the scenes, like the best scenes in the film were like all the sit down scenes, really. I don't like, that's the thing. You mentioned you like the action, and I didn't dislike it. I thought it was whatever, good, serviceable, got my like sort of big movie rocks. I'm seeing it on IMAX. I was like, whatever, but that's not what I really enjoyed out of this movie. What I enjoyed out of this movie was the scene where they're sitting at the gas station having a beer together. The scene where she buys her vest, which again is not Natasha buying the vest, it's Yelena. And then so like, look at this vest, it's so cool.
No, look at all the pockets. I can put so many things in the pockets. That's one of my favorite things. My God. It's like, because
all the stuff with the vest. I mean, the callbacks to the vest. They really went all there with this vest.
The vest was amazing.
So yeah, it's all those scenes and the scene in the at Melina's farm with the pigs and stuff. But again, it's like, yeah, Natasha's in those scenes, but she is not. And here's what it really comes down to. This is how I put it, and like this is because I'm not just saying that these other characters stole the movie like it was like a coup. I think Marvel more or less made these decisions intentionally, because the reality is they're much more concerned with the future than they are. It's two things. One, they are much more concerned with the future than they are concluding this character. This is almost kind of like a makeup note that's kind of like almost secretly like a not sorry, but like really sorry, but really we also can't. We have to use this movie to set up other things. It's very awful. We'll get to that. But like, I think that by its nature, and this is, again, this is not making an excuse for it, because these decisions were made the reason they were made. And I'm going to I'm going to try to really explain this going forward, but the MCU, we think of it in like these 3 phases, and now we're in phase 4. But there's really, in terms of the behind the scenes and what you get, there's really 2 distinct periods. There's period 1, which is everything up until about 2016. And then there's period 2, which is everything after. And period 2 is where the structure of the company is very different than the structure of the company was in period 1. And the results are very different. And the reason that restructuring happened was to get different results. And Natasha is a legacy character. She comes from period 1. And not only does she come from period 1, she comes from period 1 where her whole existence in period, as defined by period 1, was to be like uninteresting in some ways. She was a
tertiary character, obviously.
She was a tertiary character, and that's all they wanted. And there was some push against that right away, or some effort to do more with her. I mean, we all know what I think of Joss Whedon, and certainly even what I think of his decisions about what's good character writing for Black Widow and Natasha. But the reality is, at least I'm not even trying to give him credit. I'm just pointing out a fact. He was making a concerted effort to try to make that character pop off screen and to make that character have a character. Okay.
It's fair.
So that was about the extent of it. And Avengers Age of Ultron was basically the last movie entirely a product of the first period. Ant-Man also, but really Civil War, while still technically part of the first period, at least in terms of like when it was being produced, put in production, all that stuff. But by the time it released, we're in period 2. And I think it was part of what set the tone for what period 2 would be like. And I think that really, when we're talking about Natasha, the character, just for a moment, her whole thing that she set up, and granted, this is what Scarlett Johansson also, I think, just as an actor is best suited for, but it just doesn't work in what the MCU has become.
She also executive produced this, so let's not forget.
She had a lot of say in this. She had a lot of say in this movie.
She might have had a lot more say than she's ever had before.
She did
in a Marvel movie. Yeah.
I don't think it was a matter of her pushing towards or against what I'm saying. I just think that. Well, let me make the point that it might become clear. Natasha's character, as we've known her, is very serious. Is very like one note. Is very kind of just like moody and reactionary. And to be fair, I think this is the other thing that's a little bit unfortunate about this Black Widow movie. By far the best portrayal and best acting we've seen her do is not in this movie. It's in fucking Endgame. I mean, it's like so blatantly, like, I thought she was really fucking good in Endgame. And the reason is because her character had a story and perspective and was being used as the avatar for a certain sort of, along with Captain, like the Captain America. But all her best scenes, going back to Winter Soldier, are with Steve Rogers and Captain America. And to a lesser extent, Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, obviously her death scenes with him. It's her to beat this like beating heart, this wounded heart at the center of the thing. Well, she can't be the wounded heart and the protagonist at the same time. So that kind of just went out the window. Or if it could be done, they didn't do it here. Right. So that's out the window. So what you have left is what she's usually used as in these movies where she's more tertiary, including even like, say, Infinity War, where she's really just there to just remind you she exists. And she has a couple cool action moments, granted, some of them which are some of my favorite of hers. But it's just like, I'm here, I hit shit with my Black Widow sticks. She's just serious and like has maybe a little bit of snark here and there, but like there's no real personality. You look at the period 2, basically most of phase 3 movies, like especially the best ones, which like your Thor Ragnaroks, your Guardians, your all these the Spider-Mans. The way they use the lead character is like they are this like force of nature comedy, like charming, like devil may care, like kind of just like what like force. And they're playing to their movie stars personas as much as possible. That's one of the changes they made in period 2, is to really go towards that instead of pushing against it to fit some
letting them have
boxes.
letting them have a little more personality.
Right, that's how you get.
I think in phase 2, phase 2, according to what you're saying, I think phase 2 is when they really started introducing more comedy, and more lighthearted moments. Not just comedy, but some lighthearted moments that are like, oh, superheroes identify as human also. You know, they still have these emotions, whereas Natasha Romanoff has always been human. And I think Florence Pugh mentioned Pugh. Am I saying it? What is it again?
Pew, like pew, 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 pew. That's how people do it. Literally. People introduce her that way now.
I'm going to remember it like that even better. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
So Florence Pugh tells her, I bet the interdimensional god needs to come get Tylenol after a fight. And that brings us back to reality, to remember, like, she's an Avenger, but she's a human, and she's still got all the, you see all these bruises and all these things that she's been through, and you identify with her as this human element for a second. Whereas sometimes in the older MCU movies with her, you forget that she and Hawkeye, especially, like mostly her, you forget that they're not super. They're just very skilled.
No, but see what you just said there, again, I would apply that so much to what you see of her, that both of those characters in Endgame, especially in their scenes together. And like, there's that sense of like, wow, we're flying a spaceship right now. Look how far we've come. There's all that really works there. I'm sorry, it just does not work, or it's not even, it doesn't even matter if it working. I don't think they're really trying to do that here. It's very unclear to me what the fuck they were trying to do with Natasha in this movie. It's very unclear to me because look, like what I'm saying about the way that those phase 3 protagonists are, that, you know who's that in this movie? Florence Pugh as Yelena and David Harbour as Red Guardian. They're doing that. And really more Florence Pugh, because David Harbour's Red Guardian is more like the foil to that, the buddy, like the Mark Ruffalo and Ragnarok, or the fucking
the comic relief, sure,
Drax and Guardian, or whatever the hell the partner character. That's what it is. And also, let's not forget, Yelena gets a ton of emotional stuff too. So it's not like just, be funny. So they give them all that. And then you also, again, have this force of Rachel Weisz just classing up the joint. And it's like, well, what's Scarlett Johansson doing? Like, she's at the center of the movie. She's the character we know. Like, what is she doing? It's like, it's just really unclear. It's like, kind of like, it's almost like she's like self-aware, even though, especially this was weirder because this movie takes place obviously after Civil War, before Infinity. It's almost like she's just like, yeah, I know, like my days are numbered, and I'm just like, I'm supervising. I'm just supervising my own movie. Like, so when you talk about,
it did seem like this movie was, I mean, obviously the scene at the end after the credits, it seems like it is setting you up to follow Florence Pugh around.
Oh, without question. Without question.
She's now the new Black Widow in that sense, I think.
But I guess what I'm saying is it's almost like what you said about Scarlett Johansson being the executive producer on this movie. It's almost like she was literally playing the executive producer on screen, and that was her role in the movie. Like, it's weird like that. Like, she gets her one big moment, her confrontation with Ray Winstone, which unfortunately bears the brunt, and that's maybe the next thing we'll talk about, is like I'm really hoping we're over the Marvel villain problem, and what we're going to talk about with Loki certainly suggests that we might be, but this is like doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on it. It's like, who the fuck is Ray Winstone, and what are they doing with Taskmaster? Like, it's just like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care that, like, Taskmaster woman now or any of that. I don't care about any of that. And I actually think that was, like, story-wise and emotionally, like, satisfying. I'm not even saying it wasn't. I just think, like, well, what's the point of making that person Taskmaster? Like, why? That's just stupid. It's literally just so we can have action sequences that look cool, but we're not even really going to justify them in the story. And also with Ray Winstone, it's just like, who cares? He's Russian guy who smokes cigars and is fat. And like, I think they were trying to do something where it's like, look at this grubby little man in charge behind everything, trying to control all these women. And I thought visual thematically that of course that plays to me. That absolutely plays. But it's just like, but it's surface. It's not deep. It's just surface. And it's trying to get you to do all the work by inflecting those ideas onto it. So, you know, it's one other thing I just wanted to note, just backtracking to what we were talking about before about the differences between Natasha and the way Florence Pugh's character is written and to a different extent, Red Guardian, is like, we're having this movie about Natasha and Black Widow, but it's like almost like the heroes of the movie are the anti-Natashas. Like, because what Pugh is to me in her Yelena character, and that's what I'm saying about her taking over as Black Widow, if Marvel had a clean slate and they were establishing Black Widow in the current way they make the movies, and this is what they would have done. That's what I'm saying is so like about her, Natasha being this legacy character. She is a product of this earlier way of doing things. And right. Scarlet, and again, I think if Scarlet could have adjusted more to the new way of doing things, they would have. And I don't think it's like she can't, like she physically can, or they didn't ask her to, or any of those things. I think Scarlet I think she herself, and she was an EP on this movie, as you said, doesn't necessarily see that as her skill set. I don't think what I'm suggesting is in any way like the movie being taken away from Scarlett Johansson. I think Scarlett Johansson, to her credit, perhaps, kind of is a very matter-of-fact person and recognizes things the way they are. And it's like, I'm glad I get this movie. I will take the symbolic victory. And sure. I'm going to just let the movie cook and be a send-off to my character without really doing that at all. And just basically be like, this is me handing the torch over. This is me kind of like leaving my stamp, but over. Yep. It's not me leaving my stamp in terms of like, this is going to be my best work. It's just going to be, this is just the epilogue. This is what it is. Sure.
Like we needed some kind of, bridge to cross over where the characters, to introduce the new characters. And maybe you're right. Maybe she was like, I'm fine with my movie being partially a bridge. And yeah, it's telling my backstory in depth, but it's also setting up this new set of opportunities for the MCU.
No, completely. And, see, here's the thing. It's like when I thought about this movie,
and in that case, maybe I agree with you. That it's sort of like she's taking one for the team and being like, this doesn't need to be all about me. This is about the team. And I'm part of the team. My character was part of the team. But I'm cool with having this be a bridge, be a torch, be a conduit for the next. Maybe, if I was her, and I obviously don't know because I've never been lucky enough to play an action hero in multiple movies. But if you listen to anything that Daniel Craig says about playing 007, like how physically exhausting it is, how much he literally hates it. And I know ScarJo would never complain like that in public because she's a badass. But you have to look at this role and say, this is tough. These are tough movies to make. These are tough movies to be part of physically for an actor. She might be like, you know what? I'm a mom. I need to produce. Maybe burning 60,000 calories a day, jumping around. Maybe I take a break for a bit. I see that for sure.
I'll power to her on that. And no, I don't think we're wrong at all about this. And that's, look, and if that's the case, and that if it is the case that like, this is all of her own, acceptance and so forth, I think that makes it totally okay. And more than okay, it makes it a good thing. I just think what's interesting is, going back like a year or two ago when this movie was supposed to be the first thing we saw in Phase 4 period.
It was?
Yes, this was supposed to come out over a year ago, well before Loki or Winter Soldier or even WandaVision was supposed to come out.
Wow.
So this was supposed to be, and we'll talk about a specific thing that I assume got changed as a result of that. But my whole thing was like, this is going to be very weird, because I knew it was going to take place after Civil War, before Infinity War and all that. But I was like, this might be this weird thing where almost like this movie is almost like a slap into everyone's face, but like a fun one, where it's like, you missed your chance to do a Black Widow movie, but here's a Black Widow movie, and it's so good, and you're going to want more Black Widow movies, and like Black Widow's the shit, but too bad because you killed her off, but maybe she's not. Maybe she's actually not dead. I thought that was going to be basically how this movie,
that too.
How this movie went.
Maybe she's not because of Loki, because of all, there's got to be, look.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. Let's not get into that yet, because let me tell you, that's the first thing I'm saying as well. Other than
I'm saying there's gonna be a way
there's
to
no
bring
more
her
rules.
back.
They can bring back anyone at any time, whenever.
This is daytime soap opera, baby. We do whatever we want.
No. So
evil twins, people coming back from the dead. We got it.
People thought Black Widow was going to be in Loki because of certain screenshots in the trailer. They ended up being Sylvie, but people saw the short hair and were like, "Oh, that's Black Widow." And it was, dude. I mean, she really does look like her from behind, but
well, even right now, she at the very end of Black Widow, she got that shorter blonde bob, and it looks exactly like Sylvie's hair.
Right, exactly. So no, it was a very obvious mistake. I'm sure Marvel intentionally were like, "Yeah, people will think that's what's going on here."
Way to throw us off.
But so here's the thing. I think that now more than ever, after seeing this movie, I'm quite convinced that for all intents and purposes, at least this version of Natasha is dead. And this movie was not what I said. It was instead what we've been talking about, which is, this is a film to kind of just like be an epilogue to the character, sort of check mark on the box, and also to kind of set up the next generation on terms that Scarlett Johansson is excited about or accepting of. And to that effect, I think it did its job.
Give her some control.
I think the result, though, and this is where I'm going to tie in kind of my sort of check-in on the overall MCU and these rankings that I did of them.
Okay.
This movie, and I thought about it obviously since then. It was definitely my take going out, but it hasn't actually changed. This is kind of what I consider like mid-tier. Like it's not near the top at all, but it's not near the bottom. And actually on my ranking list, it's like literally dead in the middle. So let me I'm just going to go through this very quickly because I think it's interesting and it'll give us a good check-in point, a good transition point to get into Loki as well.
Okay.
But so at the very bottom, because now there's, get this, I'm including the Disney Plus shows, there's 27 fucking MCU entries at this point now. Can you believe that? So far. Yeah, well, we're about to have a lot more. We're going to have like 34 by the end of the year.
There's going to be, I think by the time, the next generation's coming up, it's going to be 60 plus. And I think
we're going to be 60 plus by 2025.
You're kidding.
No, but at the rate they're going, yeah. We'll get to that. So, not that I think there's nothing good about it. And this movie's coming back in a big fucking way, as we're going to talk about later. The Incredible Hulk is at the dead bottom, 27. Follow that.
Which one? Just in general?
No, the Incredible, the movie, The Incredible Hulk, the Ed Norton one.
Ed Norton one.
Which is canon MCU despite
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. We're going to get, this is what I'm saying, we're going to finally circle back around to things that happen in that movie now in phase 4. There's a couple things that we know are already coming.
Okay.
But that's dead bottom. Next up, and this is very telling for Black Widow and something I'm also going to have us talk about in a moment, which is Captain Marvel. Not a fan of Captain Marvel. It's like barely better than me.
I have to say Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman 1984 are at the bottom of my list as well.
But Wonder Woman 84, I think, is as bad as I don't think Captain Marvel is. Wonder Woman 84 is actually, as we talked about, like insulting in a crime against humanity. like the Captain Marvel is just like, yeah, it's
Marcus,
not a good
my
movie.
favorite for the drama. The drama.
But I think it is that dramatic. Then next 25 is Iron Man 2. It's got its charms, but 24 Thor: The Dark World, You'll notice a trend. These are all phase 1 or phase 2 movies. Then Thor, the original, as just a bit.
I like the original.
I like the original. I would consider it to be like, if I was giving it. So I gave all the films below.
Natalie Portman, discovering science.
2 stars, or like this is like a 2.5 star to me, or literally. Then you have Ant-Man at number 22, the original.
I
Ant-Man.
also liked Ant-Man. I don't know.
I like. It was a great movie. Can I be clear? Every movie I'm saying, especially at this point, I like. It's just like. It's just that there's so many more movies that I like a lot more.
That's fair. Okay.
So this is not me saying these movies are bad. It's just
stop giving me a hard time because I like Ant-Man.
Yeah, no. Doctor Strange. Then Doctor Strange. I like Doctor Strange. Okay, I like all of them. I'm not going to say it anymore. I'll know what I have a thing. After that, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
Which again, I like. I have a lot of like, but
you
that's
like
number 20.
You like the Wasp more than you like just regular Ant-Man.
I like the Wasp more than I like regular Ant-Man. Again, that addition of and the Wasp is something I want to touch on in a moment. Then Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I think I probably have more problems with some of the movies below it, but I think its positives kind of elevate it to this higher stage. I mean, it's an Avengers movie. It's got a lot going on. Then this is where it gets interesting because now we're into recent times in Phase 4. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier at number 18. Above that, just above that, I would put WandaVision. Then just above that, I would put Black Widow. So really, so far in Phase 4, notice I didn't mention Loki, but so far in Phase 4, which I just added this morning to this list. So far, Phase 4 has been like, okay, it's been the dead middle, like better than some of those earlier things from Phase 1 and Phase 2, but like not at all near the highs we were hitting in Phase 3. Just not even close. I mean, that makes sense. We're building up again. Like Phase 1 through 3 is collectively known as the Infinity Saga, and now we're starting whatever this new saga is, which I'll suggest what I think that might be called or is about. After that, you start to get into like what I saw that is definitely the good stuff, which isn't to say Black Widow isn't the good stuff or WandaVision isn't the good stuff. It's just that middle. You have Captain America, the first Avenger. That's the first one. Then Iron Man 1. Then Spider-Man Homecoming. Then the
Homecoming.
Avengers.
Wait. Homecoming. Which one's
That's
in
the
Homecoming
first
again?
Tom Holland Spider-Man.
So first Tom Holland. Got it.
Yeah. Then the Avengers, the first Avengers movie. Then Spider-Man and number 11, Spider-Man Far From Home. That's the second Tom Holland one. The most recent MCU movie before Black Widow. Then you have at number 10, now we're in the top 10, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one at number 9. Number 8 is Iron Man 3. Number 7 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So yes, I think Guardians 2 is better than Guardians 1.
What?
Yes, 100%.
Because
I love
of Kurt
Guardians
Russell?
1. Guardians 1 is amazing. Guardians 2 is fucking better. I don't know why anyone even wants to argue this anymore. Guardians 2 has like some of the best shit in any MCU movie. Okay? And you know
Guardians
what? I
1
think
was so funny and so good.
I think that's so can I say this? I think Guardians, people think, and I'm not trying to accuse you, Dana. I'm just using you as an example. And obviously you're kind of saying this is your opinion. So I'm just saying, I think Guardians 1 has like sort of like losing your virginity bias, if you will. Like it's such an impactful experience because it's like, holy shit. And look, if I was to rank these,
we're
like in terms
rewriting
of like,
the superhero movie with that movie.
If I was to rank this list purely on what like impacted the future of the MCU the most, like Guardians is like in the top 3. Like
I would
easily.
agree with that.
It's like that,
for sure.
Avengers and Black Panther. You know what I mean? It's
Tom,
like
yes.
So, but this is not how I'm making this list. I'm making this list based on what's the better fucking movie. And what's the better fucking movie is Guardians 2 is everything that made Guardians 1 great, but a lot more. It's actually the example of what you want in a sequel. And that's why I think Guardians 3 is going to be really sick when it comes out. But yeah, one day we'll do a proper episode on Guardians 2 and I'll give my case. I don't want to like try to give that now. Thor Ragnarok is number 6.
Good.
Number 5. Now we're in the top 5. Note what I haven't mentioned yet. Number 5, and this
a lot of
this
things.
Okay, a lot of well, only 5 things, but I'll just say this: number 5 and 4, I have it in a certain order. I think it might switch back and forth a few more times before I finally settle in on it. So this is kind of a hot take thing. I never thought I'd put what I put in 4 above number 5, but I was like, it might be recency bias. I don't know. Number 5 is Captain America: Civil War, one of the best movies, just amazing. 4, so above that, something I think is like one of the best movies. There's only 3 MCU movies that I think are better than it, right? Loki. I think Loki is top 5, if not number 4, at least top 5. It is better than Thor Ragnarok. I'm fucking saying that. I don't think that's going to change. I think I might make the argument that Civil War belongs above it because it is this big movie. But I think that's almost why I decided, no, you know what? Fuck that. You don't need to be a big movie to tell a really fucking big story. And that's what Loki proved. So
that's true.
Loki, number 4.
There you go.
Obviously, the top 3 is like super obvious. Avengers: Infinity War, Black Panther, Avengers.
Yeah, I knew you were
Endgame.
going to pick that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's like, that should be uncontroversial. But yeah, and I'm sure some of the other things people are thinking are super controversial, like why isn't First Avenger higher or Avengers 1 higher or Far From Home lower or whatever the fuck they think. I don't know. It is what it is. Now, bringing it back to Widow, because I think that now that I put that out there, there's an interesting thing that I want to talk about, which is, why did we get this movie now? You know, like, I think it's easier in hindsight.
They promised it a year ago.
Yeah, well, it promised it, but even then, that would have been arguably too late because this movie takes place in Phase 3. It takes place after Civil War. Like, why didn't this movie obviously would make the most sense if it was in between Civil War and Infinity War?
Yeah, actually, that would make sense.
That would make sense. Well, I have a theory about this, and that's what I want to talk about. And this will explain the difference when I say the 2 different periods of Marvel Studios in terms of how they make movies. So just to explain what period 1 really was, the way Marvel Studios used to work is Marvel Studios was part of Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you might think it still is. It's not really. Marvel Studios, yeah, it is on paper, but not in function. I'll explain. So Marvel Studios used to be part of Marvel, meaning the boss of Marvel, this guy Ike Perlmutter, was like in charge of everything at Marvel. And because of that, Marvel Comics, Marvel TV shows, everything, right? Because of that, when Kevin Feige, who at the time didn't even start as the head of Marvel Studios, but you know, he quickly became de facto that and then later officially that, had a decision. He was the producer on all the movies. So in terms of like the creative decision making, in terms of tying all the movies together, he was pretty much the guy in charge of that from the jump, right?
Okay.
So when it came to making movies in Phase 1 and Phase 2, and I think Phase 2 is where things got very dicey in a couple places. You know, he had to run this by Big Boss Ike and some of the other heads. And Big Boss Ike was kind of known for being very shrewd, which is why the Phase 1 movies were made very cheaply. Which again, at the time might have been a huge boost. Like it's hard to say we would have gotten any of this if that wasn't the case, because they needed to actually be able to make profits in order to get to a movie like Avengers, right?
Sure.
So there's that. So you would do a lot of bad, but right away consequences were suffered. I mean, if you want to know why Terrence Howard is in Iron Man 1, but Don Cheadle is in Iron Man 2, it's called money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think Don Cheadle is better than Terrence Howard ever would have been. No offense to Terrence Howard. So I can't complain.
Do you think
about
they
that
initially wanted Don Cheadle and couldn't afford him for the first ones?
I don't know. I don't know if Don Cheadle was ever considered for Iron Man 1. If he was, I'd not heard this. I'll look that up at another point and get back to you, but I don't know. That's a good question though. But yeah, so Ike used to be in charge, and basically Ike's whole thing was like, hey, and this makes sense. Oh, certain Marvel properties like X-Men and Spider-Man, we don't have the rights to, so I'm going to try to downsize them in the comics, and then I want the movies to emphasize some of the properties we do have.
I mean, that probably makes sense.
That does make sense, but it led to some weird decisions. And I don't even want to highlight those just yet. The main thing I want to highlight, and again, some of what I'm going to say, everything I've said so far is more or less precisely factual, and it's been reported in multiple sources over the years when this was happening and in hindsight. But I'm going to continue to give some facts, but I also want to just make clear that some of what I'm going to be saying is my own personal interpretation and extrapolation of things. And I think it's fair. I think it's reason. That's why I'm saying it. I think it makes a lot of sense, but just bear that in mind. I'm not going to go through the pains of noting every time that is. So just keep that in mind.
I will.
I think Ike is, and the kind of the sort of motive of corporate thinking that he represents and did represent, is pretty sexist, to be frank. I mean, the whole movie industry was at the time.
Know what? I was going to say something. Was it because they thought a woman couldn't carry a Marvel movie?
100%. So
that's where my mind first went. But then I was like, no, because they've had Wonder Woman. And
Wonder Woman didn't happen. Wonder Woman hadn't happened yet. Wonder Woman didn't happen until 2017. That's what I'm saying. But that's a good point, is because Wonder Woman was an inevitable movie, right? It's Wonder Woman. It's going to happen.
Right.
Once DC got in the habit of making their DC movies, which was happening. So I'm time stamping where we are right now in 2014. Okay. By 2014, Man of Steel had come out. Batman vs. Superman was announced. Wonder Woman was definitely coming.
Right.
People at Marvel knew that shit. So what's happening in Marvel in 2014? Well, in early 2014, they're preparing for the release of Winter Soldier, the first movie since Avengers that features Black Widow in it. Black Widow in a supporting role next to Captain America. And it was a good use of her, I thought, as we talked about. I think all her stuff with Cap is her best stuff. In terms of like their chemistry is just really great. Like when I see Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, it's not even that I want them to kiss, because I really don't. It's just more like I like seeing these two together. Like you feel the warmth they have and the meaning they have to each other and their relationship.
Yeah, no, very good rapport.
Winter Soldier was coming out. I mean, he was already done filming. Kevin Feige already knew what the movie was, what he had on his hands. I think he was very confident about it. And they were figuring out what's going to be Cap 3. And by extension, what comes after Age of Ultron and Ant-Man? What's Phase 3? So Civil War. Civil War is what they were talking about at the time, right? That was going to be the kickoff to Phase 3. That was going to be a Captain America movie. And they wanted to make it with the same team they made Winter Soldier, meaning the Russo brothers directing. Obviously, Black Widow is going to be in that. And as we know what the story of that movie became, it ends with the Cap and some of the Avengers that sided with him being on the run. Sounds like the setup we were going to get for this Black Widow movie, right?
Exactly.
So my point is, I think they were already thinking about the hypothetical.
Even mentioned Black Widow. You and the Captain are the two that are left on the run.
Right. So in other words, I think by the time they finished Winter Soldier and we're starting to figure out Civil War, I think early on in the discussions figuring out the story of Civil War inevitably led to what happens after that. And I think this is when they must have first just thought about the hypothetical movie that Black Widow became Black Widow, right? But it's 2014 and it's still the old structure, which means no movie gets greenlit without Ike's approval, without the Marvel Entertainment brass's approval.
And he maybe doesn't think that ScarJo can carry a movie.
No, and I think to this point, he obviously didn't think that, because you go back even before 2014.
I was thinking, but I forgot that Wonder Woman, because I thought Wonder Woman made that not true.
Okay, but hold on.
Nope, it's true.
Let's put this in a context. So even before 2014, right? You have Black Widow's introduced in Iron Man 2. I don't even really want to belabor the way that character is treated in that movie. Tons of people have talked about it at this point. I'm sure you remember. So that's how they introduce her, right? Then she's in Avengers, and I already mentioned how Whedon tried to give her more of a character and story in that movie. And I don't think that was because they wanted to expand her role in the MCU. I think it was just because Whedon personally felt like that was a personal stamp that he wanted to put on the movie. Maybe he thought it would endear him to Scarlett Johansson, given what we know about him. I don't know. Who cares? The point is that's what happened. And her scenes in that movie are interesting. Again, I think this idea that it was very female empowering is a bit, incorrectly stated and telling of the time. But, it's better than what was in Iron Man 2. That's for sure.
I would agree. It's better than Iron Man 2 for sure.
Yeah. So Phase 2, they announced the movies of Phase 2 before Avengers even comes out. Now, what do we get in Phase 2? We get all the sequels to all the movies in Phase 1 plus Guardians of the Galaxy and then Ant-Man. Do you see Black Widow in there? No. I mean, granted, you don't see Hawkeye either. So it's not, I don't think it's purely a sexism thing. I don't think that's fair to say. But I do think, and Jeremy Renner was as big of a star as you could be back in like 2012, 2013. So, 2011. I don't think it's fair to say that it's just a product of sexism. But I do think there was not a lot of confidence in the idea of a female-led superhero movie. There's a lot of skepticism about it. And, it's like 100%. We're talking about an all-white, all-male movie slate. All right. It's very different than what would happen in Phase 3. Now getting back to where we're talking about in 2014. So I think that around this time, Feige perhaps, and I want to also note, I want to make Feige sound really good in this whole story. I don't think he's like some perfect paragon of virtue or anything. I don't think he's like beyond reproach or impugned, but I do think it's fair to give him a lot of credit for what happens. I don't know who else you would give the credit to. I mean, people that work under him, other people on Marvel Studios, absolutely. Guys like Nate Moore, who I don't think were part of the company just yet, maybe. Lou D'Esposito. There's other people involved, but I do think when it comes to the specific behind the scenes politics that we're about to talk about, it was certainly Feige having the conversations, right? So Feige probably went to Ike and the people and was like, what about Black Widow for Phase 3? And they were like, no. And more importantly, but like they wanted, I think in order to make it seem like
exactly like that.
Yes,
I think you were on pitch.
I think no. But I think here's what's interesting. And this just goes to show you corporate think. I think they at this point were like, well, we don't want to seem sexist. So and also I think they, like I said, at this point, they knew Wonder Woman would eventually be coming.
I think you said it exactly right. It's not that we don't want to be sexist. We don't want to seem sexist.
Right. So they don't want
That's
to
what's
seem,
important.
exactly. They don't want to seem sexist and they know Wonder Woman's coming.
Yeah.
So what do they say? They go, Ike being like the way I told you is like all about, let's focus on Marvel properties that aren't blah, 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 blah. There's this comic synergy that's weird. So he's like Captain Marvel. So by October 2014, there's a very big event that happens at the Capitan Theater, very famous event where Kevin Feige announces Phase 3, or should I say Phase 3 1.0, because Phase 3 would change significantly after this announcement, like what the movies were.
Okay.
But the movies that were announced there were Civil War, and Civil War that would introduce Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, then Captain Marvel, and the Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 is what they were called back then.
Okay.
So notably missing, or in Thor Ragnarok, notably missing, there's no Ant-Man and the Wasp yet, and there's no Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man at that point was like just coming out with Amazing Spider-Man 2 over at Sony. The thing with Spider-Man being in the MCU had not happened yet.
Okay.
That's one of the big changes.
The crossover, yeah.
So and Ike is still boss. And there's one more movie they announced that notably never happened called Inhumans.
Oh, I don't even remember that being announced.
Oh, of course you wouldn't. Now, what would befall of Inhumans? Well, after some of the things I'm about to talk about, Inhumans eventually became a TV miniseries that nobody watched and everyone hated and thought was awful.
Oh.
So that's what happened. And it's pretty obvious that Kevin Feige never wanted Inhumans. It was like, what the fuck is Inhumans? It sounds like
a superhero movie. It sounds like something I would be interested in.
No, I don't mean like he's like, what the fuck is Inhumans? Like he doesn't know what it is. I just mean like he's like, no, I don't.
No. I mean,
that's not what we want to do.
Why didn't it do well is what I'm saying.
Because they made it like a cheap piece of shit and there was no purpose to it. And it was made not by Marvel Studios at all. It was made by Marvel TV. And it was just junk. It was junk.
Oh,
I didn't even watch it, but I mean, I've seen clips of it. It's junk. Now, it was always meant to be junk. This is what I'm saying. It's like the studios knows who has the juice. They know they have the juice. They know how to make movies. And Ike and the people at Marvel Entertainment and the people at Marvel TV that work under them but are separate entirely from them, like have very different ideas about how shit should be done. And they're not the same, even though they're part of the same structure, they don't work the same, which is why when they have to take orders from one, it's just very uncomfortable because it's like, what are you doing? You don't understand how we want to do things. You don't understand our ambitions. You don't understand any of this. You want us to make an Inhumans movie. And look, Captain Marvel, I think Feige was down for Captain Marvel and excited about Captain Marvel, but it was like, why are we making Captain Marvel instead of Black Widow? And I'll tell you what the answer was on that. I implied it was like, oh, comic properties, but that doesn't really explain it. What it is they were like, Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, she has no powers. Wonder Woman has powers. We need a superhero with powers.
She's an actual superhero.
Which, okay, fine.
Otherwise, ScarJo, technically, it's a spy movie.
But here's,
oh my God, it's Jason Bourne.
Well, here's the problem with that thinking. I think, again, this is why there's an inherent sexism to it, because I think they're like a woman who's just a woman that no one wants to see that. Right? But it's like, but you've been using her.
Who can kick your ass.
But you've been using her and have set her up in now 3 movies. Mm-hmm. She's been with you since the beginning, and you were basically just like, but she's just a lady in a
tight
suit.
You're not special.
Yeah, you're not special. So there's a lot of, and I don't know how much that was rubbed Feige the wrong way personally, if at all. But the point is the other stuff with the Inhumans and just this mandate. And by the way,
just that alone, like this tidbits of what you're giving me makes me so happy that ScarJo got an EP credit and got some like say for this last Black Widow, whether it went exactly her way or not, who knows? But just the fact that she's been dicked over so many times and now she got, I
couldn't agree more.
Good for you, ScarJo.
But another interesting thing to know.
I just want to throw it out there that she used to come into when I worked at Sunset Tower. Mm-hmm. She was awesome, super nice, and would always eat 2 or 3 plates of food and have a couple of cocktails. And I'm like, good for you. You deserve it.
Mm. No, totally. Totally.
That was just my side note. My little
no. You're so good on that, and I love Scar. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like
she just seems like so down to earth, and
she seems wonderful.
Had the incident that happened. This woman at the bar was trying to take pictures of her, and we had already said not to.
Oh,
and then she literally just walked up to her, took a picture, and turned around and left. And this is a place where you're not supposed to have your phone out at all. It's posted everywhere. And she was like, it's fine. I don't care. And we were more upset than she was. I was like, I'm more upset. They broke the rules. She was like, whatever. No one cares. I'll let you know. So cool. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's also important to note in terms of like this arms race with Wonder Woman, even though they knew probably at this point in 2014 that there's no way Captain Marvel was necessarily going to beat Wonder Woman to release if it came out in 2017. I think originally Captain Marvel was supposed to come out in 2018, didn't come out actually till 2019 with the movies that were added to the slate later, pushing it up. But because of that, they wanted to put Captain Marvel in Avengers Age of Ultron at the end. I mean, this was part of a whole thing they were doing, which I think is another part of this story where like Ike and the boys were like, that's what I'm going to call them, Ike and the boys. Ike and the boys were like, we need all new heroes at the end so people know that we have we have all the power and we don't need Robert Downey Jr. to come back and sign a contract. Now obviously he did, and they knew that by October 2014. That's how you get Civil War being Civil War. But it's like we don't need any of that. We don't need we have Captain Marvel and Falcon and whatever. See, diversity. There's all this bullshit going on. And it will have Inhumans soon, so we will never need X-Men. That's why Inhumans exist. I should explain that. Inhumans exist as like their answer to X-Men. So in the comics, they're like, fuck X-Men. X-Men are bullshit. Inhumans are in, and we're gonna make an Inhumans TV show and an Inhumans movie and an Inhumans this. And Kevin Feige's like, what? No. Like that's not how we want to do things. Now, another thing that happened in 2014 is Ant-Man, which was supposed to be directed by Edgar Wright and had been developed with Edgar Wright since as far back as the first Iron Man movie.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah, that's how far that development went. So one of the first people like Kevin Feige took a meeting with about movies. He was supposed to direct it. He ended up dropping out because of notes that Feige, I think, was more or less forced to carry over to him because of what the Marvel story group, Ike and the Boys, were pushing on them.
Wow.
And so this was like that I think was the straw that broke the camel's back. That and Age of Ultron.
He's been working on it for so long, and then someone comes in and like nixes your ideas after so long of being like, do this. And then someone comes in last minute and is like, no, we got to. Yeah,
they'd already casted the movie and I think even started principal photography when this happened.
I get it. So it's like, do I want to start over on something that I think is already in a good place? Yeah.
Well, look,
that's annoying.
I think it's worked out. Edgar Wright's gone on to bigger and better things, arguably. Well, not bigger, but better. And Peyton Reed, who came in to direct Ant-Man and is since done Ant-Man and the Wasp and will be doing the third Ant-Man movie, I think is doing a really great job at those movies. So I think it's all worked out. But I think from behind the scenes, and I think what really rubbed Kevin Feige the wrong way, when that happened, so many think pieces came up about how Marvel is unfriendly to directors, how Marvel makes their movies on a corporate assembly line, how DC's better because Zack Snyder's an auteur. Like there was all this bullshit coming out of it at the time. And it made sense with what we knew at the time. But I think it rubbed Feige the wrong way, rubbed the other people at the studio the wrong way. And they felt like, yes, we have a very...
Press. Who's going to like negative press?
We have but like I think it was like, they felt like the way we want to make movies is, yes, we are very involved as producers, but we also want big and artistic directors to feel at home here, feel like they can make the movie they want to make. I think we just proved that with Guardians of the Galaxy because we basically let James Gunn make the movie he wanted to make. And that was a big hit. So this is what's happening. 2014 Guardians, big hit. Age of Ultron, even that movie was full of Marvel story group meddling, and it got a lot of bad looks in the credits. Almost every criticism people had about it, I think Feige and the people at the studios probably were like, that's because of Ike and the Boys, not because of us. And bullshit with Joss Whedon that also had to do with Ike and the Boys. And it's like, and then they lost their Ant-Man director. So they had all those things, but they still had the successes to show for as well. So that's where you get the coup. Or I should say the one other piece of the coup is the Spider-Man coup. So at the end of 2014, after all those announcements, turns out Feige had been talking behind the scenes since Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a flop at Sony with Amy Pascal and was like, yo, give us Spider-Man. Just let us do Spider-Man. We'll do it together. Studio can still hold the movie, but we'll make it. And it was an unprecedented deal that I'm sure Ike and the boys were like.
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm sure Ike and the boys were like, fuck that. We're not doing that. And Feige, I think Feige overruled them by going to Iger and just making the case that this is what should happen. And Bob Iger, the head of Disney. And it did happen. And the deal was made. And then they added 2 Spider-Man movies into phase 3. And also because now we're getting into 2015, you get Ant-Man's being a hit. They're able to add Ant-Man to the Wasp to the slate. But what preceded that in 2015, right around the time Avengers Age of Ultron was coming out, I believe, you get the formal coup that I'm talking about that ushers in this new period, which is Feige goes to Iger and is just like straight up like, yo, I don't ever want to work with Ike and the boys again. They should be their own separate thing. There should be their own separate thing. I want to basically answer directly to you. So basically he's like, by saying he wants to answer directly to Iger, he's basically saying, I want to be above all the other middlemen in this company. Like not even just the Marvel ones. Like I basically want to be like my own autonomous unit that only answers to the biggest boss possible.
Or my own department.
Yeah. And I think Iger, looking at the case I just said about how much, and I'm sure Feige also made a lot of promises about the future. I'm sure what he said was something along the lines of, this is what I would have said if I was in his shoes. Hey, these Infinity War movies are going to be the biggest movies ever. But the only way, and that's going to be true probably no matter what we do, but if you want them to be truly great and truly stand the test of time, and for all these other movies that we're looking to do in phase 3 to be as great as possible and as memorable as possible and be gems for years to come, we can't be working with Ike and the boys. We got to be able to go. We got to be able to go to these directors that we're talking to and let them make the movies they want to make. We have to be able to go to our cast, our stars, and say, fuck the contracts. You're going to want to do this movie because we're going to let you do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we're going to make these movies. And he was like, all right, cool. So that got signed all of a sudden now. And I think you see this. So Civil War and Doctor Strange, while both very good and like especially Civil War, they were made kind of during this transition or before this deal was struck. Everything after that. So starting all the movies in 2017, Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, Captain Marvel, all those movies that you noticed in my list were near the top.
Mm-hmm.
Were all made after this transition because that's when they finally got to start making movies they wanted to make. Unfortunately,
a little more creative freedom.
It was too late to make Black Widow, because if you're talking, this happens in 2015, late 2015, early 2016, right? I forget the exact time this became an announcement or whatever, but it was around there. There was no time to fast track a Black Widow movie, certainly before Infinity War came out. And what would be the point of squeezing it between Infinity War and Endgame, where they already had to squeeze in Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Wasp, because they added Ant-Man and the Wasp after Ant-Man was a success.
They already had a full ticket at that time.
So it was like, okay, the soonest we can do it is after Spider-Man Far From Home, meaning after Endgame. And I think probably as far back as like 2015, 2016. I don't know exactly when they decided they were going to kill off Black Widow, but in Endgame, I mean, but it's possible it went all the way back to the earliest discussions of what would happen in the movie. And I think part of the reasoning at the time before the transition was like, I don't know if Scarlett Johansson or some of these people are ever going to want to make a Marvel movie again. Like, that was the thinking at the time, that this had to be the end. Right. I think what ended up happening was it ended up being the end because creatively it felt powerful, but I think it probably started more from a place of necessity. And so who knows when that decision was made, but either way, it was like, okay, the only way we're going to make a Black Widow movie is essentially like if it's this makeup movie, like, oh, we're doing it because we can finally now. And as a result, it's got to be kind of like this sort of backwards looking thing. And I think they made, I think given the limitations of that, I think what we got, the fact that it's in the dead middle, the fact that it does such a good job with characters like Lelina and the really just the cast. Like, as you mentioned earlier, I want to see more Red Guardian. I definitely want to see more of Yelena. He needs a standalone. I don't know if he'll get one, but I have a theory about where we'll see Red Guardian next. I'm going to say.
Oh, he'll get one, and I'm curious who's going to be cast as.
Okay, well now is the perfect time for us to talk about that stinger.
Maybe a Skarsgård. I don't know.
Yeah. So you obviously saw the post-credit scene. I don't think that goes without question, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I stayed.
So
I texted you before.
So this is the thing I was going to mention, where I think this scene probably had some edits or was reshot or maybe was added after the fact, because like I said, originally this movie is going to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I remember when Falcon and the Winter Soldier was airing, people were saying, oh, this is an unusual thing that they had to reshoot those scenes because originally Allegra, the character played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Yes.
I love her.
Originally she was going to be introduced in this movie first, but since this movie got switched places with Falcon and Winter Soldier, now it's like you've already met her, which is why when she comes into the scene at the end of Black Widow, they don't even
already know who she is.
It's written like you're supposed to already know who she is. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, so it's interesting because it seemed like Yelena is already working with her, which is interesting. Now,
well, but it's only Black Widow's been dead 2 weeks. It said, I think at that time when she's standing at her grave. So it's possible that, she might have been working.
We don't know how long Allegra's been active behind the scenes. Yelena might have been working with her since 2016, since when the main timeline of Black Widow ended.
Do we want to even project and speculate? What if she's been working for her the whole time?
No, Dana, we definitely want to do is speculate. That's the whole point of what we're going to
do. The whole time she's been out of the, what's it called?
The Red Room.
Out of the control of the toxin that was in her mind from the Red Room.
I mean,
what if
I think it's possible.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus swipes in because she knows everything.
Yes.
She knows what's going on, working for who she works for.
Mm-hmm.
She could swoop in and literally just take over. So maybe she was working for Julia Louis-Dreyfus this whole time she was with ScarJo.
So this is a good part to just talk about who Allegra is. We don't know much about her, even from Falcon Winter Soldier. What we know is what we saw there is she comes in to basically recruit John Walker, the U.S. agent, after gives him that costume for U.S. agent. Like after essentially he's, dishonorably discharged from the actual U.S. military and forced to not be Captain America anymore. And obviously we know Sam takes over as Captain America at the end anyway, the new Falcon Captain America. But the name that she has, Allegra, Allegra de Fontaine, whatever, I forget. It's a long, super 5-word name. That character in the comics lore is also known as Madam Hydra. So related to Hydra and known to be a girlfriend of Nick Fury. And they have this long history, and she's been involved in several different groups. I'm not a comics expert, certainly not on these comics, so I don't want to try to recap all that. Mm-hmm. But this gets a lot of questions going. And this is also what I want to say is based off its appearance here. It's the recruiting of Yelena, the fact that what she's telling Yelena to do is go kill Hawkeye. And we know that, yes, it's been confirmed Florence Pugh is in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series that's coming this fall.
Awesome. So
we're going to see this story carry forward. So when I say there's two different stories and then for phase 4 going forward, this is what I would consider the first. The other we're going to talk about now with Loki in a moment. But this is the first, what is this team? Because that's what it seems like, because you have Yelena and you have John Walker. What is this team that that Allegra's setting up? She's kind of doing what Nick Fury was doing way back in phase 1, remember? Appearing in stingers and being join my little crew, right? What is this? Now you'll know that in both Falcon and the Winter Soldier and in this movie Black Widow, another character appears, though never in the same scenes as Allegra. But they're both in both things, and that's William Hurt as General Thunderbolt Ross, a character obviously first introduced in the Incredible Hulk film, but since Civil War, his character's kind of been repurposed as this government Secretary of State guy who's in charge of the Sokovia Accords and all that shit. Thunderbolt Ross is also known in the comics as the founder of a group of anti-Avengers called the Thunderbolts. So
the
Thunderbolts, yes, which is a dope name.
It's a dope name.
Is this setting up the Thunderbolts? Are they in cahoots? Is William Hurt's Thunderbolt Ross in cahoots with Allegra, or are they not in cahoots? But this is still the Thunderbolts for some weird reason, or are they not in cahoots? And this is a similar group, but maybe it's more like Dark Avengers or something. Or the Avengers team there's a comic line called Dark Reign, basically where villains are the Avengers or pseudo villains or anti-heroes, however you want to look at it. Dark Reign was more straight up villains. This is what I'm getting at is Hydra coming back, because obviously Savannah Hydra is, are we going to get eventually, which has not been announced, a new Captain America film that's Sam Wilson, Captain America versus some of these people? Or a new Avengers movie with this paying off? Is this going to tie into the Secret Invasion series that's coming on Disney Plus? I think absolutely 100% yes, and that ties together 4 other things, which I'm going to get to.
Okay.
So there's a lot that could be setting up, but either way, I think this is the storyline, which is what is this sort of, because there really isn't Avengers anymore. After Endgame, there's no Avengers.
Right.
So
who's left?
It's the question is who's taking up the place of Avengers, and will it be people operating for good, or will it be these sort of anti-heroes? And look, Yelena in this movie is pretty heroic and definitely a good guy. But her background is a trained assassin. So And obviously she's being like told by Allegra to kill Hawkeye, who, yes, also is a trained assassin who killed a lot of people. And we know the Hawkeye series is going to get into some of that backstory on the same way this movie did.
Right. And
so I don't know.
I'm sure Hawkeye's got an equally tragic past as a child assassin.
Yes,
we'll see.
I heard
or something.
Yeah, they're going to even explore, too, the whole Ronin thing where between Infinity War and Endgame during those 5 years, he was just killing people. So,
well, he is a samurai with no master.
Yeah, so we're gonna get all that, which is why the Hawkeye series is gonna be dope as fuck, and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, so that's one storyline. The other storyline is big multiverse war, and that's what Loki set up. Which this is why I texted you when I texted you last night. And I'd like to think that in some way contributed to your decision to just go home and watch it, because I was like, the fucking crazy fucking sons of bitches did it. They fucking did it. I was so prepared. Like, the first 15 minutes before Kang shows up, I was like, I don't think I'd ever had more like shakes and palpitations while watching something, because I was like, on the one hand, so convinced that it had to happen, that it was happening. And on the other hand, so like convinced that like I'm gonna be disappointed, because we've been nothing but disappointed up until this point. Now this non-disappointment, like as I was alluding to at the top of the show, makes me even more confident that in hindsight, some of the things that we thought we got wrong, we weren't so wrong about. But nevertheless, this was the first time where one of these Disney Plus shows, and this is what I'm saying, it felt so earned, because I've been saying since the jump that Loki stands out well above, like even from the first episode and the second episode, this show stands way above. It was already my favorite,
right?
Yeah, way above the other two shows.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah.
Yeah, no knock to them. I thought those shows were fun and good and had a lot of good stuff in them. But this is way above. This is way above all that. Like, this is, you didn't even finish it. There you go. So you didn't even see the scene I'm talking about where Allegra shows up and recruits John Walker.
No, but I know that she's in it.
Okay. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what happened now. This show was already so way above that. And part of the reason is because it felt like it was just putting right at the forefront, whether it was going to pay off in this final episode fully or not. And I was really prepared for it not to. And I still would have thought the show was like amazing, even if it didn't. But it felt like it was like saying, no. We're going to give you a big story. We're doing a big story. This is as big as the new Doctor Strange movie. In fact, you need this to get to the new Doctor Strange movie. So I was like, okay, but we've been here before, because it kind of felt like WandaVision was doing that. And again, now in hindsight, it's like, well, WandaVision didn't do it because this was going to do it. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's just like, it just happened to be how it was written. But man, who would have thought? Because again, going back to when Loki was first announced as a show, I never, despite the obvious setup in Endgame that this was going to be a timeline alternate thing. In fact, almost explicitly because of that, I was like, this is not going to be an important show. Like, I just didn't think that. And that was the joy of episode 1 of the show, was you get episode 1 and immediately all those things are thrown out the window. You're like, I think it's going to be big.
You're starting to be like, oh, there's actually might be the linchpin in the next couple of movies.
Exactly. And so it's so exciting. And it just, even beyond that excitement, the storytelling was so good. The characters were so good. I really cared about this Loki and Sylvie and everything.
Tom Hiddleston just nails it as well.
He does
such a good job of being endearing, but also kind of annoying.
Well, in this final episode,
he just
really barely got to do any of the normal Loki things at all, or even the things that this new like redeemed Loki would do. This episode, he spent most of it just like shutting up and listening, which is a very interesting choice, but it let Kang do his thing. And then at the end, like the look of devastation, that close up at the end of him sitting back in the TVA is like, oh man, a photograph worth 1,000 words and then some. Like, that was just some of the best face acting I've seen in a while. Just like, you just felt everything that just happened on his face. Like, yeah, true broken heart. Like, just utter, like, I can't believe
deflation.
I this is what happened. How did I get here?
Yeah.
And it hit me. It hit me. But yeah, when that elevator door opened up and I saw who I instantly recognized to be Jonathan Majors, and we had talked about this before because I was like, listen, Jonathan Majors has already been cast as Kang in a movie called Ant-Man Quantumania, which doesn't come out till 2023. Why the fuck are they casting him in 2020 for a role in 2023? I'm like, it didn't occur to me at the time that when the casting was announced that he was going to appear earlier, but then it was like, oh, well, there seems like they're pointing at Kang, so they already casted him, so it seems like he would appear. If that wasn't true, if we didn't already know that this guy was cast, I wouldn't have bought the theories, especially after WandaVision. I would have been like,
really?
This is just, because I would have been like, this is just another,
some other character.
Clues and things, but it's not. But I was like, the fact that we knew this guy was cast, it was just like, all right, there's real plausibility here. It doesn't feel, it's much easier to read in the purposefulness of putting all these allusions to him in there. So when he shows up, but nothing could prepare me for the moment. When he showed up, I shrieked. It's like, ah! I literally shrieked the highest pitched shriek. And I was just like,
I think I went, wait, what? Wait, what? It's just a dude it's just a guy? Who are you?
Right, yeah. Which is I think how they mean it to kind of feel for
the fact that he's eating something is what got me as well.
He's eating an apple.
He's interacting with the physical world, but then they can't touch him because he knows what they're going to do.
He's dressed like a pimp, too.
He's dressed like a freaking pimp. I love it.
Which I think is very fitting.
The cape is awesome. The way that door's open and the light is just above him, that does make him look very godlike.
His castle is also insane. I just the production design on this show is crazy, but this was next levels too. This was true,
the castle beyond the end of time.
Yeah, it was real obviously. Lovecraft, which is ironic because Jonathan Majors was the star of Lovecraft Country.
I wonder if Lovecraft, if he got Lovecraft because of this, or if Lovecraft was, or vice versa.
Oh no, vice versa for sure. Lovecraft came.
He did great in Lovecraft, but I mean, casting wise.
No, I'm sure. I doubt Marvel talked to him before he was in Lovecraft Country, but no, yeah. So I knew he was a great actor. So I knew right from the jump that if he shows up as Kang, he'd be great. But nothing really prepared me for the bizarre character that he's playing. And that's what really sold it to me that not only was this cool, but I was like, they're really fucking doing it in this sense, which is imagine if we gave you Thanos just an hour of him talking to a character years before the big Avengers movie. That's what I'm saying is different.
Yeah.
What they're doing here that's different than what they were able to do in the past, or intentionally or coincidentally, but I think intentionally, is they're no, we're going to let this villain actually be a force across the entire story and let you get to know him throughout the entire story, so that by the time you get to the payoff, we don't have to
of him, because he said you're about
that's true
you're
too.
About to meet a lot of the
there's going to be many Kangs, and I have some theories about what that is, because I think in Quantumania we're going to meet a different Kang than this one for sure.
Are you kidding? I think in Quantumania we're going to meet 50 different Kangs for sure.
That's a good point. Okay, well yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah,
it's going to be like when Rick and Morty go to the place where all the Rick and Morty.
Citadel of Ricks, yeah.
Well, it's going to be like that.
Again, Michael Waldron was a writer on Rick and Morty and wrote this, and will be back to write Loki season 2, presumably.
There you
and
go.
And he's also writing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where I'm sure we'll get a Citadel of.
Who is this writer? A quantum physicist? What's his deal?
No, he used to be a PA who would organize baseball games. I swear to God, I read all his interviews. He's a very funny guy. But you know what he said that I think holds not literally true like it is this, but just holds true in terms of showing you why Loki is the show it is. Said when he got the show, he genuinely told Kevin Feige, he's like, this is going to be the best TV show ever made. And I was like, what? He's like, I'm just telling you, I don't know why it couldn't be the best TV show ever made. That's how I'm going to make it. I want to make it like we're trying to make the best TV show ever made. So it's not the best TV show ever made, but you could tell that playing to win, shooting for the stars, definitely helped it out.
Anybody who has an opportunity to make a show should have that mentality.
Of course, I agree.
I'm going to try to make this the best TV show ever made. If you don't walk into every job like that, I'm going to try to give this the best performance of my life. You know, I'm going to be so nuanced. I'm going to be off book 3 weeks before, you know. If you don't walk in there like that, you're doing it wrong.
Totally. No, totally. So this ultimately what's, you know, obvious about this. And I also found myself asking, like, you know, Thanos was like just an incredible villain in those 2 Infinity War movies. But by the end of this, I really was kind of going like, Thanos who? Like, this guy's so much like more interesting to me. So and cool. it the way he just very casually dumps that exposition. And I love the way they animated with that weird like substance stuff. I love stuff like that. Just like, yeah, like, you know, and then I discovered multiple universes and I like conquered them all.
I'll just show you with these dark molecules. I'll just manipulate matter to animate my story.
And again, like, just think of the power scaling here in terms of like, we start Loki episode 1, which is again why I was like, Loki episode 1 just like blew my mind. It was like Infinity Stones, paperweights, junk. Those people that were treating the Infinity as a paperweight junk were just ordinary humans under this guy's control, meaning this guy's the one with all the powers to like.
He's the puppet master, 100%.
This guy, if Thanos tried to fuck with this guy, he would just like literally do nothing, and like Thanos couldn't touch him, or the stones wouldn't work. Like he'd just be like he just, you know, we saw the way he's just like dodging around, which is another cool thing they did. It was just
up to a point.
He's like, ha, you can't hit me, like some weird little like gremlin creature.
Oh yeah, like some Rumpelstiltskin guy.
Yeah. It was just like this guy's operated on a different level of like, and I think with this character, they're really getting the whole like technology that's so advanced, it's magic thing down really well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it looks like he's just doing magic tricks, but 100%. Based on the character's background, he explains he's a scientist. He's this, which is true of the comics.
He's a scientist.
Yeah, he's a scientist from the 31st century, which I thought was just a very cool line as well. But yeah, so this is setting up
back
obviously
in the 31st.
And we got some news today. It's not confirmed, but it seems like all but certain now. Though, as we pointed out earlier, it's like which version. The Tom Hiddleston will be in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness along with Wanda, as we know, which has been long confirmed. So we're getting the big in February of next year. We're getting this big fucking movie that's like gonna pay off all this Disney Plus stuff we've already watched, which is cool, very cool. But like we're gonna get payoffs even before that because the big movie that's going to be in this multiverse story arc that we know, even though we've seen literally nothing from this movie yet, like when this first trailer drops, which maybe they were waiting for this to finish airing before they dropped a trailer. I think that makes sense now. Is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be Doctor Strange is going to be in that. And we're going to get every fucking Spider-Man and Spider-Man villain from all these old movies, and it's gonna be Multiverse of Madness, but the movie before that, and then we get Multiverse of Madness and so forth. But now that Loki has set this up, the question now is, forget the movies that we knew were going to be multiverse movies like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Ant-Man. What about all these other movies there between now and then or around then? Like, I think we have to look at them a little differently now. Like, that's the thing, because the Pandora's box has been opened.
Right. We already expected. We already know all the stuff. You can go back now.
So, like, I mean, again, this is the other reason why Loki stands out. It's like we talked about the Phase 4 before this. It's like you have your Wandas and Falcons and even Black Widow, and now we're just like, yeah, that was good, and that's setting up important stuff in each of them for sure. But now we're just like the page has been officially turned. Infinity Saga is old news. Now we're in the Kang Multiverse War, Secret Wars, whatever it ends up being, like, chapter of the world. And that's just like super, super fucking exciting. Which brings me to my next question, where I'm going to start speculating about stuff that I think is really interesting. Where does Phase 4 actually end? Because we have announcements all the way up into this Fantastic Four movie, that I mentioned, which we don't know when that's supposed to come out. That's like one of the few that don't have a release date yet. Is that the end of Phase 4? Is it like Phase 4 ends with Fantastic Four? I could see that.
I could see that.
I could definitely see that.
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with it, especially if Fantastic Four ties together all the things I think it might tie together. But what if there's more Phase 4 to come? Maybe Phase 4 is just a way longer, bigger phase than anything we've gotten before. It already is. It already is way longer. Because now you have like, for every movie, you have like 2 Disney Plus shows. It's insane. So it's already, but like, what if there's unannounced stuff still to come? But before I even get to that, I kind of just want to go over what's already announced. Cause like what already announced, and this is what I was working on before I hopped on. Cause I was like, there's so much, holy shit. Like the next year or two is just like, this is never going to stop. Like it's kind of crazy. So we've already got WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Black Widow, and Loki. Mm-hmm. Next thing up, which now just has taken on a whole new meaning. This is a perfect example of what I mean. Like Marvel knows what they're doing with the way they order these things, right? The next thing is what if? Did you see the trailer for this yet? It came out last week. It kind of was low key.
What if?
So what if is Marvel's first animated?
Oh my God. I just thought of the best new meme. Loki. And he's got to be like chilling. He's got to be chilling somewhere. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's actually a good theory. I think the Loki season 2 will just be called Lokis. or no, you know what? It won't be, because I think they've established that Loki is also plural already. So
it's already plural. It's like
plural.
deer or moose.
Exactly. So that won't work.
A flock of
whatever.
Loki.
No. So what if is an animated show, but it's canon? Or it was originally, and even just the comic that it's based off, it was like, but it's not canon because it's what if. The whole point is that it's not canon. It allows you to do whatever you want that's not canon. And it's like, aha, Marvel, you fucking jag-offs, you like try to trick everybody. But especially with that trailer that dropped last week, so before the Loki finale, it's like it was already like, it seems like these stories are connected. And then it was like, oh wait, like now it's like, okay, the big multiverse vibes, as I said in that trailer. It's like, no, this is canon to the multiverse they now have established. Meaning like,
it's just adding to what
we're just going to see crazy shit that like you never thought you'd see. So some of the stuff in the trailer, since you haven't seen, I'll just tell you, but definitely go around and check it out, or I'll try to send it to you. Is you get Captain Carter, like Peggy Carter as Captain America, which is dope as fuck. I wish that was live action, but I'll take the animated. It's like, looks cool. The animation style looks cool. So we have Captain Carter. We have T'Challa as a Ravager, meaning like Yondu and like the Guardians people, like basically what Star-Lord was. And this is really notable because Chadwick Boseman actually did his voiceover before he died. So this is the last we'll ever get of him. So it's sad in that way. But speaking of Black Panther, another story we're getting is Iron Killmonger. And that's the story they showed in the trailer. Like, what if in Iron Man 1, Tony Stark, before he could be captured, was saved by Killmonger from Black Panther? And then it's like they became friends, and then Killmonger became Iron Man, essentially. So that's crazy. And then there's like I think it's hard to tell if this is what we're seeing in the trailer, but I think another one is Mystic Spider-Man, meaning like what if Spider-Man became like Doctor Strange, essentially? And had the cape and everything.
Oh my God.
Which I think, given that we're getting Doctor Strange and Spider-Man together a lot more now, we already got it in Infinity War, technically, which had the great, it's like, what's your name? Doctor Strange. We're using our real names or made up names. I'm Spider-Man. It's like, what? It's like, what? Like in Doctor Strange and Spider-Man team ups are like my favorite comics. I love those comics. So I'm very excited. And so Mystic Spider-Man's cool, but also I'm so excited for No Way Home to have Doctor Strange and all this madness. And I don't know, Spider-Man is going to be in Multiverse Madness. That definitely has not been confirmed, but I would not be shocked if he's in there, or a Spider-Man is. Because I think as we're going to get to, Multiverse Madness is going to have a million crazy cameos, I think, that we're not expecting. But anyway, yeah, getting back into
Tobey
technology.
Maguire Spider-Man showing up.
100%. They've denied it, but we know it's happening. Any denial is basically a confirmation. So what if that's the first thing in August? Then we're getting Shang-Chi in the movie theaters in September. And one of the things I just want to know about Shang-Chi real quick that's cool, that ties into some stuff, is in the latest trailer, we see that there's like a cage match tournament where we see Abomination, who we haven't seen since The Incredible Hulk, fighting Wong from Doctor Strange. Oh. So, and Abomination's design's been updated, so it looks more like comic book Abomination with like weird like fish fins and shit. So Abomination, we also know, is coming back in the She-Hulk series. So there's stuff being, again, everything's tied to every other. They're tying shit together really neatly.
Did they already cast She-Hulk?
They cast She-Hulk, the Tatiana Maslany, from Orphan Black. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, you got to get in that show. You got to get in that show. I see that. You need to be in She-Hulk too.
I got to get in that show. I've got Muay Thai lessons on Monday. I got to get ready. Mm-hmm. You're laughing. I'm serious. I finally get to meet.
I know you're serious.
To meet my teachers.
Dana, if there's one thing I know,
get to meet my teacher, Sensei.
Yeah. That's always a big moment, the sensei above the sensei. But
it's a big day. It's going to be a big day for me to meet his teacher. He thinks I'm ready, so I'm really excited to train with the person that trained.
I do not doubt your martial arts at all. I think you are absolutely a force to be reckoned with. That's why I say you should be in these shows.
It's been a long number of years. I should be able to do probably more than I can, but I am quite capable. However, if someone attacked me on the street, I very well may be like, "What? Martial arts?" I'm just going to scream and run away.
So your weakness is you're too nice. Like, I think you'd be like, "Oh, let me help you out."
Yeah, no, I would totally be like, "I'm going to warn you 3 times and then I'm going to tase you," instead of just the normal way, which is just tase you.
Just tase you. Okay.
Just tase. So, people go, "Just blaze." You're just supposed to go, "Just tase," and run away.
Yeah, that's your
just tase and run away. But yeah.
I like that. Well, another show you maybe could be in, because I think, both of these things this is a movie, and I don't think it started filming just yet, where She-Hulk, I think, is already filming or about to go into production. You could probably still get cast if you needed to. Sorry, I'm getting confused. This is a TV show that's already been filming, which is after Shang-Chi, we're getting Miss Marvel on Disney+. So that's going to introduce Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, which is going to be very interesting for some things going forward. I'll note later. Then we have the Eternals, which I think is the biggest question mark in all this slate so far, and even afterwards. And I think, again, now that after this, it's got me thinking. Does Eternals in any way involve multiverse stuff? My guess is not, but I think what we will get in it, I think we're going to get some interesting backstory that we didn't get before about Thanos, because Thanos in the comics is tied to the Eternals. And I also think it's going to introduce the ideas of the Eternals as characters, more importantly. And I think they're going to start showing up in things after this. We don't know about it yet because they don't want to tell us until after this movie comes out. But I have a theory about where I expect they might show up.
Sure.
Which Eternal and which one, I don't know, because I don't know who's going to survive the movie or what, but we'll see. So then we're getting Hawkeye. We already talked about that. We're going to get Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner Hawkeye. We're getting his protege, who will be Young Avengers Hawkeye /
Pew Pew.
Well, Pew Pew is basically, the way it's set up, Pew Pew is almost going to be like the villain. But we're getting, or at least like a boss fight that maybe she realizes she's on the wrong side. I don't know. But no, we're getting Jeremy Renner, but with Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, who is basically going to take over as Hawkeye, presumably, or be another Hawkeye. So that's another tie into this Young Avengers stuff that I think is inevitable as well. Then you have Spider-Man No Way Home in December, which, again, we haven't seen a single trailer from this yet. And I think maybe now we'll get one now that Loki's opened up the floodgates.
Yeah, now they have something.
Yeah, now they have something to show. The same way we didn't get a Spider-Man Far From Home trailer until after. Well, actually, no, we got one. We did get one before Endgame, but it was like basically hiding all the story. Weirdly. Then they gave one after, and it was like, oh yes. Anyway, then we have Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which, as I said, we know Wanda is 100% in it. Now that we have good reason to think Loki's in it, I think Kang's probably going to be in it. And then I think there's going to just be crazy cameos, like, of all sorts. Like, we might get fucking what's his name? Hugh Jackman showing up as Wolverine. We might get Deadpool. We might get, who the fuck knows will be in this.
What?
Oh yeah. I think, I mean, we haven't
anybody.
Oh yeah. Anybody's on the table. That's the whole point. There is no more rules. This is the multiverse of madness, baby. I think we're going to get vampire versions of characters. I think we're going to get like weird monster versions of characters. I mean, this is the same Raimi movie. So I think it's going to be wild. Then
Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah, Citadel of Ricks. Moving on through 2022, we have Moon Knight, which we know is going to star Oscar Isaac. I have no idea what's really going to be in that or how it's going to tie into anything. Then Thor: Love and Thunder, which again, after Loki, I'm kind of like, I have a very particular theory about it that I'm going to save for a moment. But we know for a fact we have the Guardians in that, Valkyrie's back, and we have Jane Foster, Natalie Portman coming back, and she's going to do the Jane Foster Thor. That's been announced since the beginning. Also, Christian Bale and Russell Crowe are in the film. We know Bale's Gore the God Butcher, which is a Thor villain. Then we have She-Hulk, which, like I said, not only is Abomination that, but Mark Ruffalo Hulk is going to be in it as well. So we're getting all the Hulks, the whole Hulk family together, finally. It's going to be sweet. Then in July of that year, 2022, we're going to get Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is going to be Black Panther without Black Panther. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Then
I think they're going to pull something out. They're going to have to pull something out for Black Panther. I'm excited to see what direction they're going to take.
I trust it completely. We'll see.
Without Chadwick.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I think there's been a lot of quotes and stuff about how emotional and big-minded it's going to be. I think the biggest thing I'm wondering after it is, like, again, something that was like a weird incongruity with, say, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was like Black Panther 1 ended with this whole thing about how, like, Wakanda was, like, basically going to, like, provide aid to the rest of the world. Now, you could say very shortly after that, Thanos came and snapped shit. So maybe that got in the way of those plans, but I'm curious to see the film address, like, hey, let's get back to that, so that'll be interesting. Then after that, this is where I think we're starting to get the big ties and the big stories, is Secret Invasion, which is a Disney Plus series, not a movie, but that's got Sam Jackson coming back as Nick Fury, Talos the Skrull, that was Ben Mendelsohn from the Captain America.
Nice.
Yep, and Monica Rambeau.
Oh my God, I love me some Ben Mendelsohn.
Yes. I think Monica Rambeau from WandaVision is likely going to be in this as well. And which means overall, and this would tie in from the way back to the post credits of both Spider-Man Far From Home and one of the post credits in or pre-post credits, but last scenes in WandaVision it was a post credit. It was the mid credit. Scene in WandaVision where Monica Rambeau was approached by a Skrull. So it's like, I think we're getting all the sword and Skrull stuff in this movie, which I think is going to set up directly the next thing we're going to get, which is The Marvels, the film, which comes out in November 2022. And that's the film that unites Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, with Monica Rambeau, with Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. So it's pretty obvious to me that Secret Invasion is basically just to set up that movie, which is going to be this maybe big Skrull war thing. Then we have Ant-Man Quantumania, which that's 2023, but we already know we got big Kang energy going into that one. So, oh man, there's going to be some big crazy shit going on in that movie for sure. Then this is speculation because we don't know. We only know it only got confirmed last night. I think Loki season 2 is going to come after Quantumania. I think what's going to happen is basically like Loki's going to be in Multiverse of Madness, picking up directly where season 1 ended. Then he's going to like come back after Quantumania and like continue that story. That's my theory, at least. It's possible
we'll wait for 2 years.
Yeah, I think so. Because there's already so much in 2022. I can't imagine them squeezing Loki in there.
Oh, I don't want to wait 2 years.
Dude, but you're going to see him in Multiverse of Madness, so you're not going to be waiting 2 years. You're going to...
I want it now.
Don't... listen, I would say be patient, but my whole point about this slate is that no patience is required. It's like fucking crack addiction. Like every 2 months you're getting something. So, seriously.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, then you're getting Guardians 3 in May 2023. And then everything after this doesn't have a release date, but I assume the order is going to go Ironheart, which is the sort of Riri Williams like future of Iron Man kind of story, followed by another future of Iron Man story with War Machine, Don Cheadle, Armor Wars. Then we're getting a Blade movie with Mahershala Ali. And then the last movie we know about that's been announced is Fantastic Four. Now, this is where I'm going to get into the big brain speculation about how all these things tie together. So, like I said, there's 2 storylines we know, basically. There's the multiverse storyline, and then there's what I call this the Dark Avengers Thunderbolt storyline. That's what we have established so far. But I think another thing that's slightly been established via WandaVision and will be established as we see throughout this slate going forward that might tie the other 2 things together is this space sword secret invasion shit that I think does culminate in Fantastic Four. Because here's the thing you got to understand about Fantastic Four of the comics. Fantastic Four is where Kang, Sword, Scrolls, not Sword, I'm not sure about Sword, but everything else I just said, Scrolls, all that stuff originated in Fantastic Four comics. Fantastic Four is kind of considered to be the OG like space Marvel comic. Yeah, and it was the first modern Marvel comic under Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. So it's like, I think it's weird. It's like we're going backwards. It's like they're going the beginning to the end. The first family of Marvel is like the destination now. But I think so in that sense, it does make sense that Phase 4 ends with Fantastic Four, because I think it will bring together the multiverse, the Skrull War, and whatever's going on with because I think the thing that I have to understand about the Allegra De Fontaine and the Thunderbolt stuff and the Hawkeye, I think all that could, through the Secret Invasion show and the Marvels, and like Nick Fury and shit, because Allegra's tied to Nick Fury, remember? I think that's going to tie together, like this whole thing is about like Skrulls and like space stuff, even though it looks very Earth and terrestrial with agents, because Sword is kind of the bridge between those 2 things. See what I'm saying? So it's like, I think...
Yeah, they are.
I don't be surprised when Florence Pugh is fighting Skrulls in space, is what I'm saying. Don't be surprised when that happens.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. So don't be surprised when John Walker, U.S. agent, is like slamming his shield now into a Skrull Captain America's head. Like, don't be surprised when that happens, because it's blue blood and they'll get away with it. Don't be surprised when that happens. I think all that is setting up Fantastic Four, which is going to be like the big daddy. We're going to get what we thought we were getting in WandaVision. Big Daddy Reed Richards is the hot guy at Sword, who's going to be like, we have to solve what's going on. And like, also there's a multiverse out there and shit's going crazy and we need to do something about this. So I'm going to go up into space and oops, I got gamma rays. And it's interesting we're getting Kamala Khan before we get Reed Richards, because Kamala Khan's got the stretchy powers too. So it's like, I don't know how they're giving her origin, but since all the Marvel,
she does.
Yeah, all the Marvel stuff is tied with Sword already through Monica Rambeau. And like, so it makes me, and Nick Fury as well. So it makes me think that like, even the origin of how Kamala Khan gets her powers in Ms. Marvel might also be some setup towards Fantastic Four. Right? So I think the fans were not wrong. They're just over eager. I think all these things are tying together in a very specific way when you look at the full picture. But I think it's even bigger than that because we haven't even talked about like the stuff with Wanda and the Nexus stuff and X-Men, right? So I'll start smaller. Here's what I think some predictions for you. Okay. I think we're going to get some Eternal stuff tied in with Secret Invasion. Not necessarily that Eternals is going to involve Skrulls in any way.
I think we have to.
I think that's where we'll start to see.
They're going to have to tie in Eternals a few. Yeah.
I think, it's not even so much in the Secret Invasion Disney Plus show necessarily. What I mean is I think what we're going to see is that the Eternals are involved with S.W.O.R.D. That people in the Eternals, characters we're going to be introduced to in the Eternals are involved with S.W.O.R.D. S.W.O.R.D. and the Eternals are tied together, which also might tie S.W.O.R.D., the Eternals, and stuff involved in the Guardians of the Galaxy part of space in. I think everything's going to revolve around space and time.
Ooh.
So I think Guardians might get involved as well because we haven't even talked about that. I know the script's been written because, I don't know, Karen Gillan was giving some press like yesterday. Talking about her new movie, which I don't know if you've heard of, like Gunpowder Milkshake. It's like a female action movie, so it's definitely up your alley. Have you seen the trailer?
That sounds fun.
Yes, it's like, yeah, it looks cool. We'll see. It's a Netflix movie, so you'll be able to watch it easily. Maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know if it comes out this week or next week. But it's a female action crime movie, so it looks interesting. It's got some interesting, like, it kind of has like that very, partly because it's got British cast, but like it's got a very like Kingsman vibe, but with women. It's interesting.
I'm down for that for sure.
I'm making it sound better than I thought it actually looked, but maybe it'll be as good as that. I love Karen Gillan, so I hope it is good. But yeah, she was talking about the Guardians 3 script and how good it is and how also good Thor Love and Thunder is. Because remember, all the Guardians are in that. Which brings me to my next theory. I think Sylvie, because remember, we don't know what's going to happen with her after the end of Loki. Last we see her, she's in Kang's castle. Now, maybe she shows up in Multiverse of Madness. I don't know. But I think that the next place we're going to see her is not there, but Thor Love and Thunder. Because we're getting female Thor with Jane Foster. What's better than female Loki, who also, as we've talked about, is potentially the new Enchantress. So I think that's what we're going to get the payoff to that. Ooh. I think we're getting Sylvie in Thor Love and Thunder. They're going to set her up as Enchantress. It's all going to go down in that movie. So Thor Love and Thunder is going to be a big-ass fucking movie, man. I mean, all these movies are going to be big. Yes, what it needs to be. It needs to be.
So stoked.
Now, what about another character from Loki? Where are we going to see him next? Hold on, I think you're just texting me.
Owen Wilson?
Yes. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no. So, the Owen Wilson Mobius. Yeah, I think he'll obviously be in Loki season 2. But remember I said Loki season 2, I don't think it's coming till after Ant-Man Quantumania. And Mobius could be in Multiverse Madness. He could. I don't think so.
I hope that they give us a season 2 before that, but I see where you're saying that they might not.
I don't think they'd have time to get it made in that amount of time. Any sooner than like mid 2023. Like this time in 2 years is when I think it will come out. But I also think if I'm right about what I'm going to say, I think it makes sense that it wouldn't come out to after that. Because I think where we're next going to see Mobius and where we're always next destined to see Mobius is in Ant-Man Quantumania. Because imagine Paul Rudd and Owen Wilson having back and forth. Like, I think that'll be
amazing.
So fucking funny and so fitting where it's like, we're in the quantum realm, man. Like this is crazy. Because by the way, that's my other theory that we're going to see in Ant-Man Quantumania. You know how like you see the TVA, but you don't know like where it is? I think what you're going to see is like Ant-Man's going to like shrink himself.
What if they're tiny and they're
tiny, they're microscopic. I think you're going to go shrink himself down in the quantum realm, and that's where the TVA is. So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see.
It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. That's what I think. So, yeah, there's that.
I love this theory. I hope it's true.
I hope so too. So I think that's where we're getting Mobius. I think now we're going to get into movies that aren't announced yet, but I think will be announced in the coming year. I think we're going to get Thunderbolts. Is it a movie or a Disney Plus? I think it'll be a Disney Plus if it's a thing where it's like there's the characters are just no, you know what? I'm going to say I think it's going to be a movie in 2023 or 2024. No. You know what? Strike that. I think it's going to be a Plus show, and it's going to be the prelude to a movie we are going to get in 2023 or 2024, which is going to be the actual end of Phase 4 after even Fantastic Four. So hold on that for a moment. I think we're also going to get announced Young Avengers, which will be a Disney Plus show. And that's going to bring together.
Oh, for sure. I think that's like
Kid
Loki,
Disney
Plus. Yeah.
Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Patriot, the Isaiah Bradley's grandson, fucking Billy and Tommy, the Wanda's kids, Speed and Wiccan. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them all together, all the kids. And who they're gonna fight, I don't know. Kid Thanos, I have no idea. I don't think it's gonna be that cutesy. I think they're gonna try to make it much cooler than that. And Kamala Khan.
No,
I think
they're gonna save the world from some villain.
Yeah, they're gonna fight a big villain. Maybe
some new villain.
Yeah, that's a good question. Who would they be fighting? I don't know. Like, if I knew more Young Avengers comics lore, I might have a good idea, but I don't. Maybe Spider-Man will be in there too, and that would be really funny. It's like Spider-Man. Well, I don't know if Spider-Man can be in a Disney Plus. Well, no, he can. But it'd be very funny if it was like fucking like Peter. I was like, guys, you gotta like work together. This is so fucking funny. I think it'd be a really funny thing. But yeah, I think we're going to get Young Avengers in 2023 or 2024 as a Disney Plus show. All those things are going to lead up to an announcement of this will either be the start of Phase 5 or the last thing in Phase 4. I think maybe it makes sense as the start of Phase 5 in a weird way. But we're going to get New Avengers. That's going to be the next Avengers movie. I don't know if it'll be called literally New Avengers. I think that is what it'll be called. Either that or like Avengers Dark Reign, but like I don't think they want the Dark Reign in the title. I think that's too weird. I don't think that's what it's really going to be about. I think what New Avengers is going to be about is getting like Sam Wilson, Captain America, Yelena, who will defect from Thunderbolts. Basically all the replacements for the previous Avengers. Like, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder, but if Jane Foster or Valkyrie or somebody's taking over as Thor or Sylvie, I don't fucking know. They're going to be joining this team. It's going to be a team.
I do want to see more Valkyrie.
I do want to see more Valkyrie, and
yeah.
I like her a lot. So yeah, I think we're gonna get a bunch of people together to form a new Avengers team. It'll be basically like Avengers 1 all over again. And I think they'll probably be fighting some emissary of Kang or some version of Kang. You know? I think that's kind of what will happen. This is gonna be like the
or some multiple versions of Kang.
Yeah, or maybe it's a Skrull thing. I don't know. But either way, I think this is going to be essentially like our reboot of Avengers 1 for this new saga where it's like, hey, the Avengers are fighting this threat, but like the bigger threat is still coming. And that's what's crazy is like Loki set this up and it's like, if my predictions and timeline are right, which I don't think it's going to happen any quicker than what I'm saying. Like this multiversal shit is going to be going on for a long time. So, and especially, okay. So,
I can see them dragging it on.
Here's what, so yeah, we get New Avengers. I also think Fantastic Four, I didn't mention this, I think is going to start to seed in the idea that part of this multiverse includes, as we already kind of got hints at WandaVision, despite the Ralph Boner bullshit, X-Men. Because I think what Phase 5 is going to be all about introducing X-Men shit into the MCU.
I agree.
I think we thought it was going to be Phase 4, but no, it's going to be Phase 5. And Phase 4 was needed to get all this multiverse stuff straightened out so that we can start to do that. And we're going to get at the end of Phase 5, or actually I would say maybe in the middle to end, depending on where we're going with this. Because like Infinity War's Phase 1, 2, and 3, I think this next story arc might only be 2 phases, but they're 2 much bigger phases. So I think it's going to be phase 4 and phase 5. So phase 5, I think, is, like I said, all X-Men. I think that culminates in the next Avengers movie. Avengers 6 is going to be, and I remember I predicted this way back in WandaVision, but I think it's happening still. Avengers versus X-Men. I think we're getting that in phase, and as the 6.
You think we're getting a versus? Well, I guess why would they not?
Because I think what's going to happen
Everybody's
is, like,
got
as part of this
powers, gotta pit 'em
multiverse
against each
stuff
other.
that Kang is manipulating, he's going to pit universes against each other for survival. So I think it's going to be like mutants can't cohabitate with these other universes. And it's going to be like the X-Men are going to unite to, like, basically fight the Avengers. And I think Wanda Scarlet Witch is going to be on their side. So, because she's going to, like, side with her kids. They're all going to defend. I think that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be Avengers versus X-Men. Oh, you know what I just realized I totally didn't mention, and it's an open question, which of millions of open questions I think at this point, is when are we going to see more Vision because of that end of WandaVision? And if I just pick a random guess right now, I think we're going to get more Vision in actually Black Panther. Because remember, that's where they were first going to, like,
Black Panther.
Yeah, because he's made of vibranium. Remember, that was where he's first going to get his, like, thing. That was, like, the whole thing in Infinity War. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back there.
Of course, he would have to be repaired in Wakanda.
Yeah, so that would be, and I think the idea of Paul Bettany being in a Black Panther movie will be really fun.
Dope.
Yeah, that's my theory. So I'm adding that to my fucking theory list. Is but Black, definitely Black Panther. Now after Avengers versus X-Men, I think there's going to be the whole saga is going to eventually cap. There'll be movies in between, but the whole saga is going to cap off with Avengers 7. And that's going to be Avengers Secret Wars. That's going to be where Avengers versus X-Men is just like the by comparison small. This is going to be like every fucking possible version of every fucking character, like, fighting each other. Like, that's where it's going. All the Kangs.
Why not?
That's basically what I think. This Loki promised me that one day we're going to get Avengers 7 and it's going to be Avengers Secret Wars. Or maybe that it'll be Avengers 6 and there is no Avengers versus X-Men in the interim. But I actually don't think so. I think they're going to need to build it up. I think they're going to want this to be way bigger than even Endgame. They want it to be the end of everything, all the multiverse, this multiversal war that they keep talking about. So I think in order to do that, they got to build it up. They got to build it up for years and years and years. And I think that's why you cast someone like Jonathan Majors, because he's a young guy. He can go for a while. Like, you know? So, and I think they have young Avengers. They have new Avengers. They have a lot to work with going forward. So I think it's a very exciting situation we're moving towards. And there's so many fucking questions. Like, even for all the questions I brought up, there's like 100 more. So yeah. Also, yeah, Ironheart Riri Williams probably is also in a Young Avengers. So there's another Young Avenger in the works. Teenage Groot. I don't know. All right. That pretty much does it, I think. All right, Dana.
I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Peace.
Happy watching.
Get some women, take them to the Peachtree Dams. I say get liquored up and take them to the Peachtree Dams.
Do you know what I mean? You know why? It's a scary thing to give to a guy like me. Do you know what I mean?
I say get liquored up and take them to the Peachtree Dams.
Do you know what I mean?
I say get liquored up and take them to the Peachtree Dams. Get liquored up and take him to the Peachtree Dams.
Do you know what I mean? You know why? Final cut. It's a scary thing to give to a guy like me.
Ooh, how did I not even mention this? So Michael Waldron, who's the showrunner of Loki, said that one of his major influences on Loki was Before Sunset.
Wow.
Yes, because the relationship between Loki and Sylvie, and like even the whole way it's just about them talking to each other and getting to know each other, he modeled right on that, and it's very obvious when you watch it. Yeah, there's definitely that energy. So there's a tie-in. There's a tie-in with we've already been teeing it up and tying it in. But yeah, that's why I think that's why I'm in the mood for it. It's like Loki is actually the appetizer to go watch before sunset. So
awesome.
I'm into it.
Rule number 1 of Cinphomaniac: tell everybody about Cinphomaniac. Your friends, family, anybody you know that's a little bit twisted in the head and loves films, definitely tell them. Rule number 2 of Cinphomaniac is tell everybody about Cinphomaniac.
Take him to the Peachtree Dance.